That's probably the best one.
Yeah.
That's probably the best one.
That is the best one. But speaking of AI voices, let's add to stream.
Plagueis the Wise.
No?
I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise he could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
He could actually save people from death?
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some considered to be unnatural.
What happened to him?
He became so powerful, the only thing he was afraid of was losing his power, which eventually, of course, he did. Unfortunately, he taught his apprentice everything he knew. Then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. Ironic, he could save others from death, but not himself.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
Yeah, there you go. It does not sound like me whatsoever, but it does kind of sound like you. But anyways, what'd you say, Prude?
I said just a bit. Although what I said in the chat is that AI voice back and forth dialogue is basically anytime Gio has to explain deep Twitter lore to me.
You know what's funny? Because I don't even like Star Wars. I never grew up with Star Wars. I'm not a fan. I think I watched like one Star Wars in its entirety. It's because my friend dragged me to the new when they released the Girl Boss one, the first. What do they call that?
Oh, the sequels?
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah, he dragged me to the theater to see it. I'm like, bro, this is terrible. This is not a very good first Star Wars impression at all. But anyways, I hope everyone got in right. But I'm seeing, there you go. It's picking up. So anyways, this is the Digital Archipelago, episode 29. Can't believe it. Next episode's 30. Wow, that's crazy. And so that voice AI comes from a good friend of ours who did this Nisit Ryfad on Twitter, Nisit _. So let me just put in the chat.
Basically, nice try fed, but
is that what his name means?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's just spread out that way, so it's like nice with the T at the end, and then Ryfed. Yeah, it's literally nice try fed.
Man, nice, amazing. That's great. Nice Trifed made that of us. He made another one of me. And I believe Luthenplier made one of like David Attenborough dissecting anthropologically all the different creatures of the scene. Like I think you were included. Clossington had a big part.
Jay Burden, AA. I think you were in it.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, it was great.
That was amazing. But this week I figure we talk about a few different articles about art and civilization. We were originally going to do just the Alexander Adams newest piece. He actually personally emailed me that piece. So shout out to my good friend Alexander Adams, who will be on Content Minded, but he's a busy guy. And so I wanted to do something with him that isn't like the usual like political hot takes on the art world. I forgot to ask, did you want to do cams this week or not? You're pretty good, Prude.
Internet's been spotty, so let's just
let's keep it.
But yeah, no, he DM'd me the same article. It's good. I mean, he wrote a little political pamphlet, which I thought was fantastic last year about
artivism.
Well, no. The Dissident Art Center. It was this like limited run print that he had for it, which was really good. I need to publish my review of it, but yeah, no, he's a good guy, solid with the art world. Him and Pharaoh are just they can destroy anybody with their takes.
100%. And with him though, when I do my Content Minded with him, I wanted to focus more on his own artwork because I feel like me and him are similar in that we both have like when you're an artist but you're also a critic, it's like people like this, I guess like in the online content mill sort of like see you more as a critic and your own personal artwork sort of gets buried. Like I think it's because I've been working on for the past few months this big like commission that I can't like really release to the public. So that's been sort of like my art posting has been lagging like all last year because I've been focusing on podcasting. But anyways, so we wanted to cover a few articles And so the reason I was panicking a bit because Matthew the Stout, my good friend Matthew, and Fen de Villiers, my other good friend, they covered on Matthew's channel. They basically went 3 hours just talking about Alexander Adams' recent piece. But I wanted to explain the intro. The intro, not the intro. The title of this stream comes from a Borges short story called The Zaire, which we both talked about before on this stream. It's from 1,000 Apparitions to One. It's essentially the Zaire, I believe, was a 20-cent piece, but it's essentially the idea that a jinn can plant in you an obsessive ideal that essentially destroys your life in the process. So this is, let me read you the passage. So in the very end of the Zaire, he says, at first the narrator suggests that it is mind of the Zaire, but he eventually accepts that his own fate. I shall pass from 1,000 apparitions to one alone, from a very complex dream to a very simple dream. Others will dream that I am mad, that I shall dream of the Zaire. And when everyone dreams of the Zaire day and night, which will be a dream and which will be a reality, the earth or the Zaire? The Zaire is, of course, the answer, the secret of life, the all, the one, the theory to end all theories. So I think that's profound because, like, it seems that in our world, we focus too much, and I think even in this stream, we focus a bit too much on the sort of multiplicity of things, that the fact that the online world can facilitate the sort of multiplicity of everything. But when you really like take a step back and you look at the sort of the one totalizing driving obsession that everybody has, but more or less the elite and the ruling class, when it comes to various issues, I feel like that is what's at stake. So we live in a world where obsessive focuses on one thing or a variety of things in particular, that sort of rules us nowadays. And the articles that we're going to cover this week, I feel like, goes into that very well. So I don't know, Prue, do you have any ideas on that before we move on, and then we'll get to shilling, and then we'll tackle the first article?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that you're on point there, is that even when we talk about like content creation, like you just said, we have a tendency to be repetitious. Every guy has their niche that they try to fulfill, in part because I think that's just by the fact that we have to capitalize ourselves to be the best at a certain trait or aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
If you get big enough, then you can really start delving into other areas. I mean, Academic Agent's a good example of this, having 3 shows back to back that are on widely different topics, from rank punditry to the arts to in-depth interviews or literature. And, but everyone else kind of has to be like, oh, well, it depends also on the medium too, right? Like, most people on Twitter, you're like the wholesome Chungus art guy, as you like to describe yourself. And then on YouTube, because you're still relatively you have content, you're at almost 5K. And it's just like, but people don't know you as much through that avenue as they may do on Twitter or elsewhere based on your writing. And so people have to get really specific and repeat one thing that they're kind of good at over and over to sort of be prolific and set a name for themselves. And you see that a lot in the culture war, like politics, especially more so than anything else, where there's always going to be a specific focus on one issue over and over and over again that you can't ever deviate from because that's what you're known for, which I think ends up being a curse more than anything. But yeah, it's just, even when we talk about art, right? Like, what's the same old critiques that we see even from like Daily Wire, conservative types? It's just like, oh, modern art sucks. Blah, brutalism bad. And they're outside of the few artists that actively talk about it, whether it's you, Matthew the Stoat, Pharaoh, or Alexander Adams, or Fen de Villiers, that no one else is going to spearhead that conversation, because even though anyone can talk about anything on the internet, most people are ridiculously out of their depth, so they have to repeat.
Yeah, it's exactly. But even I think, like, when I thought of the title of the stream, I thought of the statue, the article that we're going to cover about the statue in New York, the Gator Baiter one. Like, that comes from an obsessive focus. That is like literally the worship of liberation, which we'll get to. But you're right. I mean, it's funny. I've seen a lot of people recently say that, well, I know you mostly from like your work with Prude in this show. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Because for years, like, it is very like difficult to translate your audience. Like, I'll be honest with you, I've always said, like, I kind of wish I had 30K on YouTube than I have on Twitter. but I'm almost at 30K. But it's like to translate your audience is sort of a very difficult task, and you have to do it through like consciously guiding them, like incentivizing them to do it, especially when it comes to like paying customers. So I think like the reason everyone does book reviews is like a reason why, because it sort of marries the both worlds of podcasting. And like I still don't consider myself quote unquote a YouTuber that does like, video essays or standalone. Like, what are we like? We're mostly we're podcasters. Let's face it. Well, I don't know about you, but because you still do.
I like what Oren McIntyre called me on his stream. He said he wrote columnist and YouTuber, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, we're gonna keep that one because columnist sounds way more respectable than YouTuber, any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, I don't like calling myself one that either, because that always comes with like like anyone can do that type of deal, and it's kind of plebeian. Maybe that's the inner elitist in me that doesn't want to be associated, but I guess that's the case, right? Is that I'm more prolific on YouTube, and it'll be weird when I'm in group chat sometimes. They're like, oh yeah, like I watched that video of yours. That's how I know you, because I didn't know you had a Twitter account, or vice versa with YouTube.
Yeah,
and it's always sucks, which is why I think that doing for example, like uploading your videos or your content from YouTube to Substack is just like essential, because the readership from Substack does not always mean that they know you from YouTube. They know you from your writing. And it gets really weird sometimes when like big name people will follow you on Substack, but not your like YouTube or whatever. Like I know that NS Lyons from City Journal, because I used one of his articles as like a backdrop for politics about the new right. And he's like, oh, like I got an email notification saying like, oh, he like followed you on or subscribed to your Substack. I don't mean that to be like a humble brag or anything, but it's just like, well, that's kind of crazy that by happening to not make a video, but instead to write an essay, you can attract
that's like a certain
kinds of attention.
I know for a fact a certain tech billionaire follows Martin on Substack. So that narrows pretty specifically of like who I'm talking about when it comes to the scene.
Anderson.
Andreessen. Yeah. When it comes to the sector, but apparently a lot of people they say that we're both the best tag team in the sector. So I'm flattered by that. But yeah. So no, it is essential, but also like when it comes to just your ability to. Like, it's not just translating your audience, but also, like, I mean, what people get out of it. Like, I like to say conversationalist, because that's a very, like, fart huffy, sued type of, instead of saying
works.
Podcast,
but it works.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
an esoteric conversationalist.
Yeah, there you go. Like, which, by the way, me and Yiz the Eunuch talked about that yesterday on her stream. So, yeah, this is why I didn't have content money, because I was double booked yesterday. And the special content operation week still going, still a lot of interviews. I have, I believe, a lot of content-minded episodes in the can, and it's going to be great. So yeah, next week is actually I'm going to release the Versaloon episode, so that'll be pretty good.
Nice.
And you have you had something. You have two things special that you recently released. Your video, the last Prudent Observations. And also, you have a new series on your Substack, if I recall. So.
Yeah, no, I've been particularly busy on this end as well. So, last week I was on Semiagog's channel. We kind of had two back-to-back episodes with regards to Digital Archipelago, and then I was on with him talking about Poland and Prometheanism. We talked, I wanted to flesh out, and we just, speaking of differences and what your audience is used to, I talked about the musical company last week. On my channel, I had a stream on Sondheim and marriage, and sort of transcribing that to today's day and age, because musicals is the one thing that I have like a deep held passion for.
I know nothing about
making me probably like one of like 3 heterosexuals on earth that give a shit about theater, but so be it. And then so Substack has been a great place to put out my videos as well, alongside YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble. So I have a new Real Talk out talking about class, and sometimes where you just can't escape where you're born from, and that's going to express itself no matter what kind of rootless cosmopolitan you are. And that's up on Substack. But yeah, no, to force myself to write more, I'm doing a bi-weekly, so every other week, sort of just rumination or random thoughts, and had a conversation about the subject of curses. Like we are cursed to do XYZ. And so that's up there. But I have like 3 or 4 that are coming out in the next several days, ranging from boredom, depression, the recent strikes in Iran from allegedly Israel, and yeah, so much more to come.
Oh, nice. Maybe we could. I don't know. I feel like every time I suggest like maybe we should do if you ever have like a geopolitics stream with Semigog, I would go off half cocked. I mean, especially about Iran or Russia. So it would just, but I have something in the works actually. I shouldn't say publicly, but that would force me to write more. But it's in its in situ stages now. But I'll talk to you personally about it, Prude. But it's a content. It's going to be a content operation on its own, and I'm working something out with someone. So, but anyways, moving on. It's gonna be great. So this first article, do you want to do the Daniel Miller one first, or what do you want to do first, or Alexander Adams?
Let's do Miller first because it's shorter.
Right. All right. Yes. So this is, and actually, I before I forget, shout out to my good friend who will be on Content Minded, because I have like literally a million. You know when you like want someone on because you have a million things to talk about with them. My good friend Jeffrey Schollenberger. Professor Jeffrey Schollenberger sent me this article. He said of interest, and I've talked to Daniel Miller in the past. I wanted to get him on, but he's kind of like he's harder to get than the president. And Matthew Stowe is actually friends with him in real life. So hopefully, if Daniel Miller's if DC Miller, if he's listening to this, hopefully we could do some business one day. So let me go to the screen share. Will it? Oh, there you go. And boom, what's it called? Babylon in the Hudson. Yeah, there you go. Compact Magazine. So many of my friends write for Compact, but Prude, you have a few things to say about Compact. A lot of my friends, like Adam Lair, Nina Power, Jeffrey, a lot of my friends write for Compact. Maybe one day I'll write for Compact.
Wouldn't that be nice? I just maybe my main gripe is with Sohrab Armani and not the publication itself, but maybe a mix of neoclassical Marxism is the real way to win the right wing over, guys. A radical magazine for He
had this take the other day about what was it about? Wage stagnation or housing prices? Did you see that one?
No, although it's been interesting to listen to him talk about liberalism and race. Like it was just,
I think that's what it is.
The libs are the real racists.
Yeah, BAP went hard after him the other day. So this is about the recent Ishtar statue, the sort of terrible consuming mother archetype. It allegedly is about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but now the regime, as Annika Chine said, they basically are just saying the quiet part out loud. And so it's a symbol of a new form of cruelty, but we'll get to that. So a massive bronze statue of a demoness now adorns the roof of a courthouse of Appellate Division, First Department of the Supreme Court of New York. Did Notorious RBG, did she come from New York? Is that why?
Let's find out real quick. Ruth, I would imagine that given her last name. She's probably from some part of New York City.
Yeah.
Born in Brooklyn,
There you go. There you go.
I mean, that's basically, Brooklyn is its own ethno-state at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. But even like legally, don't they have I know it's like a stereotype, like corrupt New York judges, but it's the truth. Like only the corruption is activist judges now in New York. So the work of the sculptor Shazia Sikandar, it, an accompanying figure in nearby Madison Square Park, consists of an unsettling chimerical figure. Again, just like the Rockefeller Plaza Sanford Biggers one.
Oh, dude, you have to look her up. Chimera. Look at her demon eyes in this picture. If you look her up right now.
Oh, let me see if I could.
Pakistani American artist installs Lady Justice sculpture outside U.S. court.
Oh, Lady Justice. Damn,
I went with the
Jen. She's a Jen. Okay, that's just. I mean, she's a good artist. I mean, I gotta admit that does take a lot of skill. But look at this. Come on. Let's see. Open link in new. There you go. Whoa! There you go. Is that supposed to be RBG when she was like first starting off in New York in like the 60s? Is that like what's...
I'm trying to find like a young photo of Ginsburg in 1977. I mean,
like she is a good painter. You got to admit, she is a good painter, but it's just like...
It doesn't look anything like her. You know?
I know it doesn't. Like I get what she's doing. She's appropriating the Iranian miniature for like woke purposes, but it's just, you know, it's not my thing. I mean, I like her painting, but this
is like the most syncretic form of the civil religion of like liberals. It's like, we're going to take this foreign Ishtar-like demon statue that we would have seen in like ancient Babylon or something like that, and we're now going to implement it syncretically into our civic religion of the notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And it's just like, and I mean, Daniel Miller talks about that in the article, which we'll discuss, but I find that this is the case, is that anyone can be a part of it. Anyone, you know, it doesn't matter if your original home culture in Pakistan, if Islam or ancient forms of culture was against abortion, you know, it doesn't matter. You have to, you know, syncretize your culture, your faith and traditions to the altar of baby murder.
100%. No, it's crazy. Like, look at like those eyes are incredible. She must be a jinn. I feel that's probably. Listen, I'm not saying this racially. I'm just saying that there's something going on here. Like, I gotta admit, like her artwork it does appeal to me in the way that she's using the Iranian miniature style. You know, I mean, she is a good artist, but I mean, when you use that talent for evil, let me go see what the chat says. What do you guys think of it? Utterly disgusting. Of course. The poor queen. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, also, I don't see those super chats. Need those super chats, people. Come on. I had to sacrifice the algorithm for... Oh, I see my good friend John Chapman has needed a super chat. So we'll see. We'll we'll read it at the end. But anyways, GF low res Antichrist. Oh, that's
low res
brutal.
Antichrist. I love that.
That's it. We gotta use that for some. We gotta use that for a title for an episode. Low res Antichrist. Antichrist.
We could use that for next week, because the satanic temple, which is unfortunately a registered religion here in the United States, because tax purposes, they are apparently opening up a certain clinic in New Mexico for their ritualistic baby murder, and it's called the Samuel Alito's Mom's like Satanic Temple Women's Center or whatever. And their whole bit, tongue-in-cheek, is like, for the women who couldn't get one, but honor their legacy. And it's just like, okay, know.
I hope Alito sues them into the Stone Age for that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like,
but there's your nothing shocks me right there. Yeah, I'm not shocked either.
Yeah, it's like nothing shocks me anymore with these people. Just saying the quiet part. So, apart from late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's trademark Liberace-esque collar, which I did paint in my one painting of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it is a sculptural expression of the age of Me Too, a symbol of new forms of power. Cruelty, exactly. Sikandar's monstrous bronzes are arguably the most interesting public art pieces to appear in some years. They ditched the flair and flat classical references employed by Luciano Garbati's Medusa with the Head of Perseus, a statue of a woman holding a man's severed head that was installed in the Lower Manhattan in the wake of the Weinstein trial. Oh God! And instead, that's like total girl boss right there, eh? Like just
John
like
11:35. Jesus wept.
But you know what's funny about the Weinstein thing is that it literally, like, girl boss is most affected. Like, they didn't go after the cheese pizza the pizza related activity that happened happens in Hollywood. They go after Weinstein, which, I mean, I'm not going to say Weinstein was a good guy, but
no, but I mean, the whole process of that trial gave girl bosses an out and gave every middling career woman who works in Hollywood, who works in any institution, who probably did.
Like Alyssa Milano.
Well, yeah, sure. I was just thinking about the fact that the dirty secret that everyone knows about Hollywood is the casting couch. Everyone knows this, and it's been known. You want to be don't you? Like, that's been around forever. Okay.
Yeah. Literally.
But now, if you ever regret that decision, in the same way that Obama's Dear Colleague letter basically meant if you woke up from a one-night stand and you really didn't like who you slept with, you could call that a certain allegation. Yeah. And ruin a man's career in college and for the rest of his life. And now, if you decide to, look back on your life, then you can just bring out these allegations and come back. I mean, we're still living in the fallout of the Me Too era. Like, everyone thinks that it disappeared, but I mean, it's still there.
It happened in every industry. Yeah,
it happened in every industry. It still happens to this day.
Even pro wrestling, not even like that happened as well.
No one was safe. Although Louis C.K. is slowly crawling his way back to relevancy again. So I mean,
because he's got to parrot establishment points, though. That's the thing.
He's got to talk about open borders and shit, and why that's so good, and why he has to forgive everybody for having that one episode in Louis where he pressed the button on the art gallery and the N-word was shouted on a speaker. He's got to forgive himself for all these things.
Yeah,
that's in an episode. I don't know if you ever watched the show, but like, he goes to an art gallery with this woman and he's like, don't press the button, and like, he does, then the N-word.
That was in the that was kind of like the South Park episode, the back in the day, where it's like the tunnel of intolerance. And it's like, then Carmen's like, let's do it again, let's go again. And it's like, oh man,
is that the one with the or is that the Museum for Tolerance that you're talking about?
Yeah, the Museum for Tolerance.
Okay. Yeah, where it has like that really awkward, overly on the nose about a certain group of people from Brooklyn.
Exactly. Yeah. The Bruni relief, the Queen of Night, currently held in the British Museum, believed to represent the love god Ishtar, the love goddess Ishtar, namesake of the biblical Esther, or perhaps the earth goddess Archipelago, Shkiga. The figure is also the basis of the Hellenic Medusa via the Cretan woman with the snakes. The story of Perseus' mythical defeat of Medusa. Oh, is that with the shield? The golden shield?
I think so.
Yeah. Is also the story of what 19th century archaeologists call the Dorian invasion, where Mycenaeus replaced the Pelasian population of Greece and subsumed their Near Eastern belief into the Olympian pantheon. Ishtar, who had previously been a goddess, was now demoted to a demon in line with the civilizing mission of Greek religion as a whole. The Olympian gods, unlike their Titanic predecessors, were conceptual and representational, as opposed to energetic and chthonic. Each of the so again, this is the same Camille Paglia. It doesn't let me highlight. It's like a white highlight. Equation with the sort of ancient, sort of chthonic longhouse goddesses and the higher civilizational, patriarchal gods, the pantheon that replaced them. But the difference being is that they are representational, they're conceptual, they have a sort of comportment within the human world. They're no longer this sort of earthly force that represented these matriarchal goddesses that you have in very primitive longhouse, earth goddess cult civilization. Well, I wouldn't even call them civilizations, but you get the point. Each of the 12 major deities that compose the Greek pantheon embodied a distinct set of ideas. The mythological stories connecting them express conceptual contents. Accordingly, the goddess of desire was betrothed to the crippled god of technology. Wow, that's funny. Technology and desire. Wow, that's even the Greeks saw with technics, right? What drives technics. But pursued a long-term affair with the god of war. What is at stake here is a conceptual thesis about the relation between technology, war, desire, which would ultimately lay the foundations for Greek philosophical thought. In a marked contrast, as S.H. Hook points out, in Babylonian and Assyrian religion, pioneered Assyrianologist Knut Leonard Talquest, standard work Akkadisk Gatopithia includes a descriptive list of the Akkadian gods, Sargon of Akkad, writing to a more than 240 pages and most defy all efforts to recover their meanings. To paraphrase Hegel, the secrets of the Assyrians also were the secrets for the Assyrians. Their meanings can't be recovered because they depend on specific political, stratagems, and the elaborate arbitrary systems of rules and superstitions they codified. Similar to incoherent and arbitrary ideology that reigns over the planet today, what is the conceptual meaning, for example, of the contemporary deities Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Say, or the deity George Floyd? Like voodoo Lawa, or the ancient Mexican deities, the half-humanoid, half-animal Ishtar is representation of psychic energy in a cosmos conceived as a contest of animist forces that must be placated, as opposed to rationally knowledgeable or knowable humanoid whole. Harmonious whole. Her meaning derives from the channeling of those energies into ceremonial and magical rites, as opposed to philosophic and theological abstractions available for analysis by the mind. All of this allows us to view Sikander's intervention not as a progressive feminist revision of the concept of justice, but a symbolic regression to a more primitive forces, and specifically the forces of scapegoat mechanisms and ritual underpinning all others. As the philosopher Rene Girard showed, the justice system originally derived from this mechanism in its ritualized forms, but domesticates it by submitting to a higher theoretical principles. When the neutrality of the system is called into question, it has been in recent years, not least by Me Too, the primal impulse to discard psychic violence through sacrificial propitiation resurfaces from the underworld to wander through the world in search of blood. Whoa! Incredible. No, that's 100% true. I mean, even my way before the global pandemic, my long form 70-pager bodily profanations goes into that with the abortion is normal gallery. And it's funny though, there's two ideas here. One, of course, is the sort of primordial longing that's it's sort of like we're toppling the sort of the sort of monotheistic Christian ideas that were in some ways a perfection of that Hellenism, and both, the sort of idea of between Jerusalem and Athens, right? Like there's a lot of Hellenism there, even like, Pope, the late Pope Benedict saw that in his works, right? The sort of theoretical ideal of principles, that is, we're sort of going back to those ancient lunar mother cults that are very chthonic, and they're all embodied with energies, and they're possessed by lesser demons and so forth. It's like we're going back through like wokeness. It's like we're arriving back at the mother cult. And that's one idea, but also the cruelty of it, the Girardian cruelty in the ritual of worshiping Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but the cruelty towards the masculine, towards those ordering principles that are there in civilization. Those are being toppled by the cruel, terrible mother goddess that eats her own children. It's incredible. The principle of cruelty, I feel, is like Daniel Miller. He really hit it on the head. But I'm getting cottonmouths. You, what do you think of this? What do you think of this, Prud?
One of the first things that came to my mind reading this earlier was the Kovefe Anon's take of the woke are more correct than the mainstream.
Yeah,
the woke are fundamentally aware of the fact that aborting children, getting rid of them for the sake of having their own lives or liberation, because most of that procedure is elective. It is not because of the rare instances where a mother's life is in danger or it's like an ectopic pregnancy. Those things are rare to such a degree that like 90+% of all of that procedure is done electively, so people can keep going at it.
Remember that Hollywood actress that said, "I wouldn't be here without a..."
Yeah, without it. And so they know what they're doing. They are more correct in the mainstream that like, oh, it's bad. No, like they're correct in the instance that it's almost like the bell curve meme. Like, like this is actually, no, it's nuanced and stuff in the middle, and then like both ends of the spectrum are like, no, this is like liberation, blood cult sacrifice. And so what a better way to represent a demon that illustrated, the need for liberation, the need to emancipate yourself through blood sacrifice to live your own life, than to depict her as that. But at the same time, right, that Miller is on point to suggest that what we are doing is sublimating other religious traditions and practices and syncretically moving them in with our own faiths and beliefs. I mean, what is Ruth Bader Ginsburg nowadays other than a deceased demigod of, you know, woke emancipatory practices and policy? And so we must immortalize her. And how do we do that? Well, we echo the same sort of ideas that she is a mother goddess or a notorious, you know, RBG or whatever. All the things that would tell us that in this new civic religion, women have toppled men and that they are the ones there. Because at the end of the day, when our gods, this pantheon that we have, whether it be George Floyd or really anyone that they've tried to make martyrs out of the brown and black masses that they now call themselves as brown and black bodies, which is even more dehumanizing. But again,
yeah,
more correct than woke being more correct than the mainstream once more, because they have no problem with dehumanization if it means to accomplish a political goal, and that means their own allies will do it to a point where, you know, like brown or black pride is just derived down to skin color, meaning that your culture, your identity is absolutely useless if it only is a means to an end. And they are fundamentally aware of that, right? And so in these instances of public sculptures and buildings, like this pairs very well with that god-awful Martin Luther King arms one.
Yeah.
Is what is it based off of? It's based off a photograph of when they received notification that he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And he's hugging Coretta Scott King, his wife, whom she was abused. She knew that he was a philanderer and cheated and had forced himself onto white women and things like that. But, you know, you have to smile for the camera. And so what is it other than just an amorphous, disgusting blob that, honest to God, just looks like two turds hugging each other and or touching each other for the sole purpose of to demoralize? And these are statues and things that you have to do it. I mean, in ancient times, you know, you topple another city-state and you take their temples, you take their idols, and you have them prostrate before your god, right? And the same thing is happening here, where the civic religion is being forced and contorted into a position where people like your average normie Republican who believes that, you know, like the MLK vision of judging people by the content of their character and being meritocratic and not to be racist. And all of a sudden, you have to prostrate before this disgusting amorphous bronze blob that's meant to be hugging. When really, at the same time, you know, you have to ignore the uncomfortable truths or the apocrypha or the legends that you might have heard from other people that are now deemed heretics and canceled in a polite society. And so, yeah, there is cruelty to it. Not cruelty to the eyes. I mean, that can be demonstrably true because it's ugly. Both of these statues are. But it's cruelty in the essence that
this one's less ugly, but it's ugly for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean,
it represents.
Exactly. Yeah. And so
they actually got a decent artist to do it this time. So
that goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
But it to me, it demonstrates the cruelty isn't so much of, you know, this pantheon of deities that the progressives have. Like, they have their pantheon. We know them. They talk about them every day. They do a liturgy for the departed every time that someone wants to talk about BLM, where they'll go through everyone from Michael Brown to Trayvon Martin to whoever, to
Freddie Gray,
or to more recently whoever just
Sandra
passed
Bland.
Away. Yeah, all of them. You know, say their names. And
you know what's funny? The one that didn't get like really famous was Freddie Gray, because like that was like a legit case of police brutality. The guy was just selling loose cigarettes and the police just like choked him out. Like like that was the one I feel like he should have been George Floyd. Like he should have been like Floyd, because that was like a clear case. Like that was cut and dry, you know, like whereas with Floyd, wow, you know, not to get into
when
it,
he
was like 2015. Yeah.
So before an election.
You know what's funny?
Your black and brown body's death is only useful during election cycles, and I think that's why there's a reasons.
Yeah,
I mean, cut open, dry police brutality, but to get the final point across is that the real cruelty is for ordinary people that don't buy into this stuff, that aren't overly political. And what are these signs for? It is these statues, these flags, these mottos and signs. They are a reminder that you are under occupation.
Yeah, and I think like there is a clear academic literature to the bodies thing. Like, of course, it comes from like bodies being the site of the operations of power, but it does lend into like a weird metaphysics that goes unspoken of. Like intergenerational trauma is one of them, and it's funny how these like secular, largely like some of them are like outright atheists, like Ta-Nehisi Coates. like these, you know, BIPOC academics are largely speaking for like religious beliefs among like African Americans in like in America is like, it's more complicated now because I do notice that, like, for example, I pointed this out like a lot of times in the group chat. It seems like the sort of like wokeified like Black Twitter people, like they're the ones who are hit hardest with like going in like on propaganda. Like I've literally seen a lot of like these like BIPOC like art ho Twitter people like explicitly posting antinatalism on the TL. Like it seems that antinatalism is like the biggest target for them. Like it used to be like the conservative like fixation, which is like a good point. I'm not counter signaling it. Like the fixation on like Margaret Sanger and eugenics. But I noticed like antinatalism is like almost going to be like the next big push among a lot of these like preferred populations on the political left, like the progressive stack. It seems like they're priming it. They have to like eat away at the inherent religiosity of, for example, Hispanics and like certain Asian groups. Like they have to like eat away at like the pro-natalist religious beliefs of these communities. Whereas I think like the, you know, in America with like the BIPOC populations, they're much easier to prime for this type of thinking because it seems to be like wherever the regime goes, like these like them and the, ironically enough, like them and the white liberals are like the most emphatic when it comes to antinatalism. Like especially white liberal women that like, you know, especially the white liberal Zoomer women that have like this incredible anxiety. Like I think like the white women bashing is like kind of like safe edgy on the political right. You know what I mean? Prove like I feel like we bash them too much. I feel like it's not.
I mean, everything from SSRI posting to Fisted by Foucault's comments to Glenn Greenwald about a dog sanctuary, to which he famously said, "You're saving thousands of dogs from abuse from white women." Like it's safe. And I think edgy, it's safe edgy, and it's not. Yeah. I don't think it's very productive in the long run. Like, okay, I fundamentally know not everyone's going to be saved. You're not going to like be able to convince these people.
There are a lot of white women that are like soldiers of the regime, obviously.
Absolutely. But there's also a large chunk of them
that are seen as problematic and
or demonized and things like that. And it's just on one hand,
white women voted for Trump. That's why Trump elected white women.
That comes to my mind almost instantly. And I mean, they still did in large numbers in 2020. I think more than 2016. But I don't like it to a degree that, but at the same time, it's also like appropriate and it is safe.
Karen is an ethnic slur, in my opinion. I feel we should get rid of the Karen.
You know, I kind of want to watch the movie that they made about her. You know, they did that stupid, the psychotic white suburban neighbor who's racist and doesn't like the interracial couple that like just moved in across like the street. I kind of want. We should review that movie one of these days.
We should. Did you see the one with the large black woman? Where she's like, she like tries to be cool with the kids, but then she turns psycho.
The party one, the one with Octavia Spencer.
Octavia Spencer, that's her name. Yeah. She's actually good. Like Octavia Spencer is actually a very good actress. Like
she's not a bad actress. I saw Red Letter Media's review of it, and it only makes me want to watch it more because it's like the classic slasher trope of kids going partying and then like ultimately meet their demise. But instead, it's like cool middle-aged black woman decides to party with like a bunch of Zoomers and proceeds to kill them all. Like it's like Hansel and Gretel, but you know, the witch just wants to kill you for doing MDMA or something. And
I felt bad for her though, because they like abandoned her. Like she's like, oh, we're just like, you know, when like you admit that you're just using somebody, it had that awkwardness to it. You know what I mean? Like I felt bad for her in the film. Not that she was justified in like, you know, redacting these Zoomers, but it's, what were we going to say?
No, the other point that you made though about like antinatalism, this strikes me as interesting because like, and I hate the fact that I'm using to reference Twitter again, but there was a thread that had managed to make it into our circles, which is always bizarre sometimes when there's like a weird crossover, but it was like a 30-something-year-old black woman did this long thread about her dating stuff. Like she's
I think I saw it.
Yeah, that one. The one where she's like, well, this is me. I go out on dates without any makeup, so people kind of get the expectation of what they're going to see, right? And she just talks about the people that she's dated And some of the
I think
problems
more
that
women
she's
should do
occurred-
that.
And to some extent, I kind of agree with that to some extent. But
if you're gonna marry someone, you got to know what she looks like.
well,
without
yeah, that I
makeup.
agree
Come on.
with. I'm okay. You're talking about makeup. Yeah, I'm firmly. Some eyeliner is nice, but I'm pretty much most of the people I've been with actually look better without makeup than they do with it. But
there was
yes,
this one
that I
video
agree
where
with.
this Asian mid, this Vietnamese mid, through makeup she made herself look like a white woman, and I'm like, that's terrible. That's like, you should have pride in yourself and your ethnicity. Like that's what I feel like. Asian women that get those like eye surgery things.
Well, it's like the AI, the AI. Well, we can. I know that you talked about this with Jay Burden yesterday.
No, but you had a few takes. We were going to discuss this
about
the.
God, yeah. So no, but what made me laugh though is that who tweeted this out? It was one of our mutuals that tweeted it out, where it was like. Someone had posted this picture on Twitter, and I'm sure that people who are on Twitter have seen it make the rounds, where it's like 3 women in bikinis, all shoulder to shoulder, hugging each other or whatever, and it's an AI generated image, but it looks good, to say the least. And it was like, creates the perfect woman. It's a white woman. That was the funny bit that I had to chuckle at. But
no, white woman with no tattoos.
Yeah, white woman with no tattoos.
No piercings.
And no piercings. So the stay winning, fellas, stay winning. But what I think about all these things, and especially that, is that it's going to be really quickly. To me, this novelty bit about the AI generated women or whatnot, I think the real interesting fact, and I think that this was something that was also said already, but it bears repeating, is that how much historical revisionism goes throughout these parts is insane. Politics is a lie. Politics, helps mask political formulas, help mask history, helps mask the bitter, ugly truths. I mean, Martin Luther King Jr. is the ultimate example of this. I mean, just read Sam Francis's article about the King holiday and its meaning. And this was back in the 1990s.
He got shredded for that article even back then.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he was the epicenter of the whole debate in 1983. I mean, he worked on the Senate staff and part of documenting research, and the reason why we're going to have to wait 4 more years for all the FBI MLK docs to be unsealed. And even then, I'm sure the FBI and Department of Justice will come up with reasons to keep them sealed, because we can't have uncomfortable truths come out. Now, imagine how effective it's going to be, whether through ChatGPT or through, Photoshop, or compiling documents or images and whatnot. History is gone. Like, the end of history has taken on a whole new concept. The end of history as an academic discipline is going to be fundamentally changed by the near schizophrenic levels of fake bullshit and documentation, and how easy it would be, right? Like, I think about a lot
incredibly
of debates.
Easy.
Well, think about all think about, like, for instance, like the history of the church. Like, even prior to the schism of the East and the West, there were already huge struggles and issues about forgeries. And, even Tertullian, right, was calling out people, being like, listen, like, some of the things I've been told by a presbyter was this, like, fake, like, gospel about, like, the acts of Paul and Thecla. And it's like, he has to be thoroughly condemned. And it's just like, if it was a problem back then for all this forgery bullshit, or like the pseudo-Isidorian decretals or whatever, all these things, imagine how bad the historical, like, academic discipline is going to be fucked by all this AI generated stuff. And
well, it's hard to gauge, like, historical records in the norm, and even, like, the most normal of, like, even in the 20th century where there is mass documentation of most things.
It's still impossible to do it. Just ask David Irving.
Just ask, who is that other one? What's his name? Clark or David? Oh, the one where he, like, trolls the tour guides.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but he's of this ethnicity himself. Like, oh man, I can't, because Matthew he's like, Gio, you have to, like, watch these. He did this in, like, 92. But it's funny though. Like, in the most normal of like, even in ancient history, like, a lot of accounts of the Peloponnesian War, or like a lot of accounts of even like something that is, like, quite documented well, like the reign of Caesar, for instance. And his own personal writings, there still, like, is an ambiguity there. Like, I remember I saw this Landshark take the other day about, it's good that certain philosophers only have fragments, so we could, like, we can chew over them for centuries. Whereas if they got the, if the whole David Cole, thank you, Matthew, David Cole. So like if we were to chew over their whole record, the magic would be lost. But I feel like nowadays, like the ambiguity of it, like imagine future historians, like uncovering the Jordan Peterson or like the recent Ben Shapiro ones, where it's like.
Yeah, it'll be really hard. I mean, sometimes it'll be blatantly obvious, like when, like the Jordan Peterson deepfake about him talking about, it's chaos when the woman that you're about to sleep with also has a dick. But it's not. It'll be
or the
more.
Deleuze one, like explaining your rhizome. Yeah,
that one's you better tell me what a body without organs is.
Yeah,
but I think it'll be harder, for instance, when you look at something like his conservative quote unquote manifesto. And then you compare it to Skeptical Waves made an AI like generated. I think it's Skeptical Waves, but someone had done like a deepfake voice of him, like basically word vomit thesaurus garbage about metaphysics and culture and politics. And I used it, and I used a video of Kermit the Frog talking and just making fun of it. But that stuff sounds so incoherent, yet it's in that uncanny valley where, like, oh well, maybe out of context, a snippet of this or a snippet of that could be said elsewhere. And they're getting really good at
Kermit the Frog orgasming. You remember that one?
Oh God, yeah.
Where's the Jordan Peterson? Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, I think that it's going to be we're entering a new age of schizophrenia, more than we've ever anticipated before.
100%.
And it's going to be easier than ever to determine, for the regime to determine what is fake and what isn't. And, even with these Ishtar-like statues or these disgusting murals of George Floyd, the overdose victim, all these things tell us that it doesn't matter if we were there for it, what we saw with our own eyes, because they can come up with fake video, they can come up with whatever to supplement their narrative for it and tell you to don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a very dangerous precipice that we are only beginning to inherit.
Exactly. And also, fellas, I do have a PayPal in the description if you don't want to give money to YouTube. But anyways, no, yeah, it's true. You had a take about, but the ambiguity of it, I think, is fascinating. I do think that eventually, society will sort of adapt to the ambiguity of text and voice. Like there was this take about the e-girl thing that our good friend Poison Berry had. Of course, listen. No real man can understand the darker side of women the way that another woman can. And so I think that's why Poison Berry is effective. Also, she's an autistic woman, so that's probably why. But she had this take where she said that essentially AI deepfakes, voice deepfakes, will force e-girls back into the original internet state of anonymity, except for outright whoas. Right. And she had this brilliant take where it's like it would basically force people that, she would force the e-girl back into a state of anonymity the way that the original internet e-girl femcells were. They were anon posters. A lot of people thought that they were men. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm just saying that it's funny how it would rearrange the dynamic on the internet to where women would have to find ways to post again through the anonymous without their image, without relying on their own, their own visage to attract attention. So I wonder if that, and men as well, men would also be forced harder into anonymity. It wouldn't be good to get podcast guests, but I guess, that's a risk you take. Maybe everyone will have voice changers, like because you use their H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, but they could be a totally different voice.
Yeah.
Instead of the robot overture, it could be like a totally different human voice, knowing that, oh yeah, like, oh, that's Zero H.P. Lovecraft's voice. And it's like, no, it's not, but it sounds much more human than what he originally used, right?
It'll sound like another podcaster.
Yeah, it'll sound like another podcaster, and he can choose.
You'll take Scott Greer's voice or something like that,
yeah. But
I want Lambda's voice. I wish I had Lambda's voice.
Yeah, Luke's got a great voice.
Yeah.
Matches the face and beard perfectly.
But what was this going Godward take you wanted to dissect?
Oh, so okay. The backdrop of this is that there was
JJ the Dock off plane.
JJ, yeah. This all starts with our mutual friend, although he doesn't go by that anymore because he got banned.
Yeah.
He's the little engine that touched himself now.
I love how people in their comments, like her fans or simps, were like, oh, this guy's obviously a pervert because he has a name that's JJ, the little engine that touched himself.
It's like you should have heard his like last 2 other account names about trains and planes, but you know,
like total humorless crones. I hate to say. Listen. I don't want to go there. Listen, you're a crone. I don't want to go there. But it's like you're a crone, and
good lord.
No, JJ. Listen, JJ is not a woman. He's the farthest thing from a woman.
He is he makes Gio look tame in the horny posting that he does. And
you know
God
why?
bless
Because he's actually had sex. That's why. Like it's like if Gio
and then learning that he's married.
Yeah, yeah. He has these posts about his sister-in-law.
Dear God. And yeah, it's because he has had it. I guess that's a valid point of contention. But anyways,
Gio had sex.
Oh, the posting would never stop. And it'll happen eventually.
I had this tweet about like I was gonna respond to an e-girl. She was saying like about having sex and the inspiration. I'm like, one sexual act would probably inspire oodles and oodles of artwork in certain people. So you never know. Anyways,
Gio has sex once, creates the next Citizen Kane. But no, okay, so the context for this was that the article said explicitly a multi-millionaire Twitch streamer, which there are very few ways women on Twitch get a lot of money that way. She had a picture of her breaking down and crying in reaction to that someone had made deep fake AI generated pornography of this individual,
which I mean we can admit is terrible.
Which is an awful act. It's bad and it's not good, and I think that may have an implication about. I think that will force to some extent modesty, because in an over sexualized culture, and let's face it, we do have one, and it's made the sexual marketplace much more stratified, more men, and also by extent women nowadays.
Wait, sorry to interrupt you.
Many such cases.
No, what Cody Browning's saying here. No, I would. I feel like I'd be risking too much. Yeah,
I wouldn't. Yeah. For that exact purpose. I'd be risking too much. But to get back to it, so yeah, this woman had a picture of her crying, and again, the act itself is evil, and I think in an over-sexualized marketplace where people are having less sex than ever, you're going to see a quote unquote Dare Coomer style takes of people go out of their way and make these things. And nowadays, like we talked about earlier with OnlyFans, like the fantasy of the girl next door can be achieved for only $8.99 a month. And with certain AI tools, you can create it yourself more or less for free, lest you pay a subscription service to that AI thing, which is even more terrifying. So let's get that out of the way. This is clearly a bad thing that happened to this woman. It sucks. Right. It's not good. I condemn it, and I will disavow. Don't be making AI pornography of anybody. And so JJ, as we affectionately will call him, not the little engine that touched himself.
Yeah.
But JJ makes a tweet that says, anything that makes e-girls cry is net good on society.
Oh, that was just designed for rage bait. Like that
It was a rage bait post, and to which he has explained in further detail in GCs and other places that like the implication would be that this is going to force a new kind of form of modesty or to get women off camera. And so the Going Godward podcast, which is just it is, a woman, right? A married woman.
Is she? Does she still do podcasts? Or
I don't. Well, her thing is Going Godward, right? I mean, she's got a large account. She's got like 16K followers. She's got more than me.
Listen. I tried to listen. I tolerated her for a bit. I even made a video about her thread, okay, in a positive light. She didn't even mutual me.
Apparently she follows me, and I didn't know why. I thought that was strange because I don't know about her.
You soft block her now?
I don't know. No, I won't do that.
But she didn't even follow me back. I unfollowed her. I'm like, you get out of here. Like
I don't follow her. I just didn't know that she followed me.
You know what's funny? Every time a man complains about a woman, then you'll have like a million like of these same like trad feminists that are like, well, you deserve it because you expected her to follow you back.
We're gonna get into that in just a second. we'll get
Matthew is a good take as well. I want to go over. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second because the
I couldn't believe it. It was an edited video too. I put a lot of work in that video. I can't believe it. Never again.
Edited video, $5. Anyways, no follow back, no mutual. But anyways, so what are so she quotes.
I know I sound like a total.
She screenshots the tweet that JJ makes.
Yeah,
and says
not even quote tweets.
Yeah, not even quote tweeting, which I guess is fine, right?
Yeah,
if you don't want to
we do that all the time.
We do that all the time. If you don't want to get blocked on Twitter, always screenshot and post your dunk. Never quote tweet unless you're risky. Like I'll sometimes reply in the news with certain memes and things, but never quote tweet a shitlib directly because that's how you get reported. And
I block them and screen cap.
Well, there you go. There you go. I have more Twitter accounts that are for advertising than I do actual people I have blocked. So every time like a tweet comes up, it's like promoted by Variety Magazine or MSNBC or Peacock, they're all blocked. So almost every major streaming service on Twitter I have blocked. So she screenshots JJ's take and she says something along the lines of like, this is evil, this is misogyny, and like if you're like supporting like, whatever JJ is saying about making e-girls cry is a net good on civilization, then you're an ally of evil. That was her take.
Whoa.
And the replies, which again, this is a rage bait shit post.
Yeah.
But the replies to it were the more interesting thing because there was this guy who had like a pipe. He was wearing a tweed jacket and it was set in a field. Had a very Rhizoma school feel about it.
Wholesome Chungus.
Communitarian, dark academia dress style. Very Victorian. Very,
I'm just like Chesterton.
Yeah, I'm just like Chesterton. I'm just like C.S. Lewis. I'm just like Tolkien. But his response was like misogyny, just evil, ugly misogyny. And I got this innate gut reaction of just like, conservatives often talk about how, or reactionaries or hard rightists or dissident rightists will always say that, yesterday's revolutionary is today's conservative. We have the Conquest 3 laws, all that jazz. Like the iron law of the leftist ratchet turning and how the ratchet Paul keeps us from going backwards in a right-wing direction.
Yeah.
Wholesome Chungus communitarian dark academic, just like Tolkien. But thank you, Matthew. Perfectly put in all caps. And he goes off, and there were dozens of replies like this. And I just couldn't help to think to myself, whatever today's quote-unquote aspects of trads are, like unless you're purposefully forcing the level of, I don't know, not, I guess, borderline white Sharia. Like if you were, for instance, like head coverings in church, right? Like if you were actually going to enforce that. And I know some places do. I know that Catholic and Orthodox churches do. But that used to be tradition for a very long time. But some
my
places,
mother remembers that.
Yeah, and some places don't do it. And to me, it's sometimes even bizarre when I walk into my parish and the women cover their heads because it's something I'm just fundamentally not ever used to.
I think younger women look good in them.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But I can't help but think to myself, man,
my friend Ellie wears it at church.
A lot of trad posting literally is AA and Red Hawk were talking about. It really is just 90s feminism.
Yeah.
I said that in the group chat. Like this is the desperate for pussy voice, just like misogyny. This is just really bad misogyny. And
I would be such a wholesome husband on her.
I'd be
on her heckin' homestead.
In our homestead where I work from home with my tech job where I make $250K a year and I don't have to do any real manual labor in my life because I've never had to experience it. And I would probably ask for neighbors for the help to take care of the chicken shit. Yeah, like that's the kind of thing that irks me. Because unless you actually get your hands in it and start cleaning around, like, chickens are hard work. Sorry. Like they're great entertainment. I love them to death. I love the ones that we own. But fuck, you're gonna get your hands dirty and you're gonna like get your clothes, and it's just, but everything is about aesthetics, and it implicates a vision of work that's there, and it's a virtue signal, and that's what irks the shit out of me about this kind of like discussion. And Twitter's the worst place for it.
Yeah, and this is why BAP goes off on them so much.
And with totally,
not that I agree with everything he says. Obviously, like he has like he goes way too far against like religion and trads, and but yeah.
But those who wear it like a skin suit, or those who wear it in the like my fellow kids, or fellow other types, but it illustrates to me a fundamental problem with the social space, because if being a traditionalist just means I have to go back to the Sex and the City days of like the late 90s, early 2000s, I'm only going to end up where I'm at by the time my kids are born. Like, what have we held back? What did we retard? We didn't do anything except make it a lifestyle choice that fundamentally ends up in the same direction of unhappiness without meaning, and puts us in a percentage where all of a sudden that's where we're at. And to me, it just irked me, because all of this is a woman crying out for attention because someone said something that hurt her feelings. And I don't care what content or aspect of politics or religion, or if you're a pure Nietzschean Ubermensch, or you're a neo-pagan or whatever. Like, this is all a crock of shit. And it frustrates me that we have to acknowledge that it isn't. I'm tired of playing that game. I think, for instance, that this whole AI porn thing is disgusting. It is evil. I will reiterate that point again. But I think what just gets stuck in my craw about it is this like, and JJ made a reply that was quite good. He says, listen, this person has made millions of dollars off men simping for their and sexual.
I was gonna say a similar take, but I was like, oh,
that's what it is. What is every titty streamer or hot tub streamer on Twitch right now? It is softcore pornography, and it is nothing more than just individuals in the name of emancipation prostituting themselves out to an algorithm in the hopes that they'll get promoted. And what's even worse is if you take a look at the data for, say, OnlyFans or MiniVids or whatever, that the top 30% of content creators only make a couple $100 a year. And so you're already playing a very niche game where it's very unlikely for you to make a ton of money in the name of emancipation or whatever. And all of a sudden, you've made $12 that year off of your pictures. They're on the internet forever. A data leak can happen, and then they're definitely forever. And all it takes is for one horny dickhead to go out and make AI-generated pornography of it, or worse, send it to your employer, send it to your family, send it to your sister, your boyfriend, your brother, and then what? Your life's ruined. And so, if anything, it's the long-form consequences of the digital age and an over-sexualized market where anyone can be a whore.
Yeah, exactly. I think JJ's point, like, I thought of posting it, I thought of replying to Going Godward, but then it would just cause too many problems. And I feel like voicing it is much more nuanced than like a tweet. But essentially, when you look at it this way, you look at this chain of exploitation. So, and none of it's good. So on the one end, you have an e-girl that has millions of views on Twitch and has hundreds of thousands of followers. And essentially, if you look at their content, it always does allude to a sort of dance around sexualized parasociality, where these young, horny incels, they're giving you money for a reason. If a woman is a content creator that does something more than just dress suggestively and play video games, like if a woman's actually out there like doing like actual stuff like on the internet, like for example, last week I bashed Jenny Nichols pretty hard, right? But you gotta admit, she does it does take effort to do book reviews every single day, right? So that's different, obviously. And of course, Jenny Nichols doesn't go out there and of course, there's always going to be an element of her audience that views her sexually just by virtue of being a woman on the internet. And we could talk about how that's not exactly fair or right or correct. But she's not going out there as a Twitch streamer, right? As a titty streamer. So I feel like on the one end, a woman that's making millions of dollars, like Pokimane, amid essentially sexually thirst trapping, young men with their, neat bucks or whatever. Then you also have a person exploiting her through this AI pornography. I don't really have sympathy for a lot of for all these people in this equation. So it's just but the problem with Going Godward with all these trad women, tradcon women, is that they're essentially, like you said, AA is correct 100%, in that they're repeating 90s feminist talking points, but it all revolves around agency, I feel. Because with a Going Godward, if you look at her tweets, I am sorry to call her out, but there's other ones, there's that Tradino, whatever, there's, of course, there's other ones. I mean, there's also trad women that are pick-me's, that basically degrade women for their male audience, which I don't think that's healthy either, right? But these ones, what they do is that essentially women have zero agency, but women do have agency when it matters. So when a woman says that she has agency, she has, and I know, listen, I'm repeating 2010's manosphere talking points, and I feel dirty just by doing it, but like, it's true. It's fundamental truth, is that they believe that women only have agency when they say that women have agency. And also when women behave badly, when they make bad decisions, according to Going Godward, it's always a man behind that have made them do that. So it's not, women have no responsibility, essentially.
Yeah,
it's men that drive them.
It's a paradox of agency. Women have agency when they choose to prostitute themselves, but when they face the consequences of it, they have no agency. It's always like you said, there's always a man behind the picture.
No, it's funny though. Did you see that clip of Andrew Tate explaining his grift?
No, I did not. I actually have his account on Twitter blocked because I just find all discourse surrounding him to be toxic as hell. But also, it's like you just openly bragged about the woman, Schrodinger's, Schrodinger's agency. I love that. It's perfect.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like it
was about how like he basically used like women psychology to exploit men, and they would have like a whole like team of people that would engage with these men 24/7, and they like promise them to like go to the airport and meet them. And it's like, it was like literally demonic in my opinion. Like, I mean, maybe I'll talk to Uber Boyle about this one day, but the way I heard him explain
at the airport for what? Like to recruit,
like to meet them, like on a date, like these men spending thousands of dollars to like meet these e-girls on a date. Yeah. Like there's a whole video where he explains like how he has a whole team of people that constantly engage like 4 of these women. And of course, these women, they're being exploited as well.
Engage engage for these women, like a pimp or a manager.
No, like they would send out messages and good nights, and like they would always like.
Oh, they play the woman.
Yeah, they play the woman. So they would pretend to be these women, right? And they would text these guys, but they would do like the typical women stuff of like they would like create excuses not to like go to the airport and meet these guys. So when these guys would get mad, they would do like the typical women, like, "Oh, you're getting mad. I don't feel comfortable anymore," and then you know what I mean. So they would like then diffuse the situation with these guys, and then the cycle repeat over like over a few months again. Like the cycle would keep repeating, where they would keep finding excuses, and the guys would keep paying money in the hopes that, and he would explain like the psychology of like, oh, these guys, like they were like, oh, maybe if I didn't get mad at her, then maybe like I would go on a date and she would become my girlfriend, right? And then they would create different accounts for the same, for the same cam girl. Like it was really like demonic stuff, in my opinion, just the way that he was able to like exploit the psychology of men and women to like get, to basically feed this like whole empire of grifting. It's like, well, essentially it was being a pimp, right? It essentially was like like being a pimp or whatever. Because these women, of course, they would be trafficked as well. So it's just like the whole like cycle of it. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, moving on. So here's Matthew's take. We also have a few other takes. Please sneak those super chats if you want me to take. I really shouldn't highlight takes anymore. I should be a conscious grifter. But oh man,
you're more of that than I am then, because I'll still talk to the regular plebeians of the audience chat. But yeah,
no, me too. But I get distracted with the chat. So here you go. Here's Matthew. It's not going to force modesty. It's going to cause girls who act modest and display themselves as not sexually available to be griped even harder by the gooners. Oh no!
I feel like that's inevitable and happening already now with trad accounts. I mean, there are, and again, this
will there be mega deepfakes?
Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think this is already happening now with certain women that are ex-thoughts. Like that Shannon JPEG chick or whatever. Like everyone knows that this person is a former OnlyFans person who prostituted herself outwards. But by LARPing this, I mean, she will be griped and by people that want to exploit her or want to have a purpose for sexualizing them. Some I think it will behoove men to just be like, I think, to gatekeep more women off the internet, or as our friend Christopher Sandbatch said, that you do want to return to some kind of imageless forum, not an image board, but like the Usenet or the AOL Instant Messenger days where it was just text. Because if everyone's a man on the internet, like you sort of devoid the sexualization of a lot of what we see now on Twitter, I think, to some degree. I mean, yeah, I mean, text-based role play and things like that still happened. Women will probably point themselves out when they're women to do that. I mean, we can go back to the Home Dog essay on those issues, but I don't know if there's not an easy way out, and there's no going back. But I think fundamentally nowadays, what the real problem is going to be is that, well, you can risk face fagging yourself like ourselves, or or what that's the worst part is that like our faces are out there. Lord knows what people could create. And that's a consequence of it, right? And like I think that it's gonna. I had this conversation with Jay Burden in DMs, but I think that one of the things that we discussed, because he had sent me, because Vingel did a little deep bit of my voice. I'm calling him out. He did it, and it was in reference to a certain T&D posting, which is, one, it was funny, but two, disavow, condemn, no thank you. and that just for the obvious ramifications. But I told Mr. Burden, I said, I think that for men, at least, it's going to have an emphasis on sort of the optics game.
Not the edge posting.
Not, I mean, okay, like shit posting and edge posting is great. I do it. You do it. We're both notoriously, we have a history of it. You can go through our tweets.
Yeah.
But my thought process was like, how quickly could it be to easily like deep fake a take off the digital archipelago? Or how, like, oh, that sounds like something that Matt would say. Oh, that sounds like something Gio would say. And then it's just like, well, that really sort of behooves sort of a consciousness about how you conduct yourself in regards to others. Because there's a bit that he'll remain anonymous, but he had said something one time in a chat where he's just like, just assume whatever you say in here is going to get leaked and like act accordingly, which is, I mean, basic OPSEC behavior 101, which I think that I think because the threat of being doxxed and getting fired is kind of withered away from like the 2017 days.
Yeah.
That people are a little more ballsy, which I mean, on one hand is a good thing, but on the other hand, that fear or the recompense of what could come from the authorities is still very much there, and people shouldn't ignore it. I'm going on a ramble here. Save me, Gio. I just feel like I don't have an answer.
People are more ballsy now. I feel like
I don't have an answer.
Yeah. No, I don't have an answer either. I feel like you just have to like I think if you're willing to like go out in public, like I've done this, you have to basically like live your life as if you know you're never going to get a normie job again, or have an arrangement with people. Like, for example, I remember Aristophanes said that he's like, basically, I'm friends with my boss and he's red pilled too. So what are you going to do? You're going to call my employer? Like, get out of here. Like, it's, it's
I turned down you're not allowed to go on a ramble, Prude. It's Gio's job. Sorry, Mr. Mackenzie. I have my tendencies.
No, it's true. No, but
that's what real talks are for. That's where I do go ramble.
No, but I feel like people like on both ends are getting more extreme. I'm not saying like a normie centrist. I'm saying that I noticed like even people who are semi-mainstream, they're willing to like entertain, which is a good thing, obviously. Like they're willing to entertain certain discourses about like, race and IQ, or like certain discourses around like certain geopolitical
Oh, absolutely.
issues.
I mean, HBD is way more tolerated on Twitter and everywhere.
No, but even like geopolitics, it's funny how this is something that like before the stream, I was listening to Robert Barnes on the Duran, and he was saying how like Jordan Peterson, like, and the Daily Wire people, they're essentially like the same optics, like alt whatever, not to say the term, but they're the one, like when it comes to like the like trans issues, they're
the alt light of 2015.
Yeah. Like when it comes to trans issues, they're obviously like much more open, like especially Matt Walsh. But when it comes to geopolitical issues like that are explicitly against the regime, you'll never hear like a pro-Russian take from anyone on like the Daily Wire ever.
No, you'll never hear a pro-Palestinian take on the Daily
Wire. Or a pro-Iranian or pro-Palestinian. Yeah, exactly.
We just had Jordan Peterson call for regime change in Iran.
Yeah, exactly. You'll never hear like someone in the Daily Wire saying that, well, maybe like going to war with Iran is a bad idea for a variety of reasons, like a variety of like very deep civilizational reasons why we shouldn't probably go to war in the Middle East again on such a massive scale, that maybe the Americans, I'm sorry, Prude, but can America muster up a 1 million-man army the way that other countries can? No. When you fight, you have to realize one thing. I know this.
Although the regime is talking, like, there's been some discourse in like the Council of Foreign Relations as of late about the draft. Yeah. And I'm like, oh boy.
Whoa.
If you get there, like all progressive narratives about country disappear really
maybe
quickly.
They'll import a bunch of El Salvadorians and Mexicans and other
well, I mean,
South America to do it.
But that goes back to the whole Joel Berry bit about the Babylon Bee, where he was just like, yeah, military service to citizenship. And it's just like, Rome died because of this, but go on, Mr. Berry.
You know, Heinlein had a great solution, though. Like, those people were still of the same planetary people, right? That did the military service in Starship Troopers. Like, it wasn't, you know, Joel Berry just like
guarantees citizenship.
No, did he like just watch the movie instead of read the book? Probably. Like, it's, you know.
I wish people read the book, because I mean the teacher plays such a much more important role about how the 20th century regimes of democracies failed. But yeah, it is irritating as hell to listen to all this, and again, right, like you said, like there's things that you can push the limits on, but others, of course, they become the lampoons that we can all sort of just like laugh at and point at for not talking about that. Oh, it was funny. It was funny. Yeah. But we do that now, and I mean, anyone can go to, like, you know, people who just graduated basic training, and like if they are not white, you're going to get two types of posting. You're going to get someone posting around their flag of their ethnic origin. Yep. Or you're going to get a bunch of black guys that graduated basic training, and they're going to have some really non-innocuous references about, you know, where they came from as Africans or as blacks. I knew a guy when I still had normie social media who went to basic training, and he was a black gentleman, and like his friend group from all his buddies at basic training, they called themselves like the Jungle, and it was just like, okay,
that's,
you know,
kind of not, yeah,
that's a little on the nose for my taste, but I mean, like, you're a black guy, like, whatever, if that's the word you want to go.
No, I think that's based if they have like the sort of the Nation of Islam, like their African names. Like, you know, the Farrakhan type of never mind. Yeah, that's
but that doesn't work in a military. Like,
it doesn't. No, you have to
a cohesive military fighting force. That does not escape the basic HBD realities either.
Yeah,
ethno-narcissism, ethnocentrism, tribalism, or differences in regarding to maintenance of complex systems, you know, as Battle Beagle likes to rant on Twitter all the time, that, or like the British had that, where they had like a nuclear reactor on the nuclear submarines and the bolts broke. And so what do? They glued the nuts back on.
Whoa, that's incredible.
We're in some like weird late stage empire shit.
Yeah.
Which is why everyone's throwing their toys, I think, for some respects, into the conflict that currently exists, because Lord knows how much of this shit would actually work.
No, it's funny. You know what's crazy is that I think even I know the Moon of Alabama calculated all of the available weaponry that the NATO forces have in continental Europe, like barring America. I think they have enough equipment if like France and Germany and Britain were to like throw all of their artillery towards the Ukrainians. I think they have like enough equipment to sustain the Blue Yellow Country for like a month or something like that. Like, not even. And so they're really noided about giving all of their military resources to the Z-Man regime. And it's like, okay, say what you want. Like, I mean, people know my opinion, whatever. But like, say what you want about both sides of that conflict. Both sides like legit think that they're fighting for their civilization. You know what I mean? Like, they both think that, like, they both agree on a grander picture of what their people and their civilization and their identity looks like. But when you're facing, like, for example, a war in Iran, potentially, I mean, America does not have that. The American military, I hate to say it, like you were saying, for obvious, clear reasons, does not have that. But when you look at Iran, like, it's not going to be like fighting the remnants of the Republican Guard in Iraq. It's not going to be like fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan. You're going to be fighting like a legit army that is essentially defending their notion of civilization. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not going to be, I don't think it would be the same cakewalk the way that it was in 2003 in Iraq. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think like the Republican Guard in Iran is going to just crumble all of a sudden. Like, those predictions are sort of like, we were too used to, because you have to realize the position of the Republican Guard in Iraq, after 1990, after they were essentially decimated the first time. Saddam was in an incredibly weak position by the time 2003 rolled around. Like, you know this, Prude. Like,
It would be, again, the same sort of thing that we're seeing happen now for almost a year. Has been state versus state standing militaries fighting each other, which we haven't seen in a considerable length of time. I mean, yes, there were some skirmishes between India and Pakistan in the 1990s,
or even China and Russia,
But I mean, even then, I mean, the most recent sort of militarized conflict prior to this was probably what? I mean, Vietnam and China, 1979, and that didn't end very well for the Chinese. No, they haven't been really tested since then. They've been conducting more counterterrorism and sort of ethnic espionage operations in their eastern provinces and dealing with Muslims. I mean, they haven't been...
Right. Yeah.
I mean, 12 years ago, you could go back and look at articles about like knife crime in certain Chinese cities and Islamic terrorism, and they sort of clamped down on that shit really quickly. And now we call it human rights violations. But
that's why they had to get rid of Kowloon, by the way, because of all the illegal stuff that they were pumping into mainland China, into Shanghai. Yeah. Oh man.
No, and also subject to change.
Look at me start talking about Kowloon Walled City, man. I'm gonna go on for an hour.
I know. Well, no, but like subject to change. I know that you say that there's this weird left-wing reflex that we have where non-whites embracing certain part of their heritage is seen as offensive. It's not that I have a problem with it. They're obviously going to embrace it. I don't really have an issue with it, but
no, me neither. I think that's probably better than embracing a lot of other.
I mean, it's better than embracing deracinating liberalism and progressivism. I think that the issue is that if you want, as a nation, to have a standing military force, like, what is the purpose of the military's indoctrination? It is to break down everything about you so you can take orders and shoot people. Like, that's what it's for. And so that's going to cause problems if there's ever unit incohesion and things like that. I mean, just like look at what happened with all the fragging and racial strife inside Vietnam. I mean, like the American military, I don't think has learned its lesson, or it's conveniently swept under the rug, and they're trying to embrace like this full-on woke progressivism.
The American military added to its identity issues.
Yeah,
they didn't subtract.
They didn't. It only got more complicated. Now they've doubled down because it's Black History Month, and they are inviting like light-skinned Black women to talk about what it's like to be Black in the military. It's like, oh, we just interviewed some chubby Spec 4 and we're going to talk about it. Like it's a nightmare, and it's a disaster. And
no, but even the recruiting standards across the board,
like
regardless of race, have dropped. Yeah. Like, first of all, I don't believe women should be in combat.
No.
Come on. That's not...
The greatest like piece of propaganda on that was that awful late 90s, early 2000s movie. I think it came out in 2000. The General's Daughter with John Travolta. You know, the whole sexual abuse in the army thing.
Wasn't it the Pelican Brief as well?
That too. There was like 3 or 4 movies that talked about this at that time.
G.I. Jane.
I'm not too familiar with that one.
Pretty good there, though.
But
gotta admit.
But at the end of The General's Daughter, the whole bit was just like very over the top. Here's a white text overlay on the ending screen of the film. The ending shot as it like zooms out from a helicopter camera, and it's just like, well, according to the latest stats and reports to Congress, like women joining the military, it's not going away anytime soon. So we might as well create reforms or whatever. And that's always been like the sticking point with like people in like even in the Senate, right? With the female New York senator, her name escapes me off the top of my head, but she's been big to push that.
Rashida Jones?
No, that's Rashida Jones. What?
What's your name? Rashida. What's her last name?
Webb, but that's not her.
No, sorry, I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah, her name.
Is she part of the squad this one?
Kristen Gillibrand. Thank you.
God, Gillibrand. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
She's been
did she
pushing
run for
that.
president?
Did she? I don't remember. I don't think she did. So no, I don't think so.
No, but the point being is that the military essentially, you have to go through a process of indoctrination, the natural indoctrination, to be a perfect soldier. Like that's just the reality from ancient times onwards. You're never going to get rid of that. So you need a coherent identity. You need, Rashida Jones is an actress. You need like a coherent identity. You need like a sense of purpose in your nation.
Oh, she did run in 2020.
Yeah, Gillibrand. Yeah, but she like got knocked off pretty early.
Yeah, when did she stop running?
Oh God!
How did he super early?
Yeah, super early. Yeah, even before boot gig.
Yeah, August 28th, 2019. Third round of primary debates. Oh yeah, because everyone and their mother ran in 2020. God, the primaries for 2020 feels like a million years ago.
I know, eh? It was a real slaughterhouse too.
It sure was. And still, Kamala Harris was absolutely destroyed. And Lo and behold, she's the vice president of the United States.
I love how they're like, we can't even like, not even we could sell African Americans Pete Buttigieg.
We can't sell them we can't sell them what Obama actually is.
Gay CIA agent.
Gay white man. Yeah, they're like, yeah, he died right before the South Carolina primary because he pulled out because he knew after South Carolina he can't win the black vote. He never will. So
it's funny because apparently E. Michael Jones said that he fortified the own election in South Bend, like that he wasn't. Like,
I believe that, and I mean, South Bend is the home of what university? Colleges in South Bend, Indiana. It's you have.
Well, that's where E. Michael Jones comes from, South Bend.
Yeah, he would know more than anybody. I mean, it's adjacent to Notre Dame and makes Frens seem more. That's one of those long-standing college institutions where you can find elite families from. It's like Notre Dame, MIT, Georgetown, Caltech, and most importantly, the University of Chicago.
Yeah,
Milton Friedman, John J. Mearsheimer, even Mr. Spencer is from the University of Chicago. Yep. And numerous others. And even that astroturfed guy, Daniel Schmidt, who got that interview with Tucker Carlson of Fox News, know nothing about his family. He keeps that purposely hidden. He just says that they're from, I think, Kentucky or Tennessee. And he's got this big aspect of conservative activism, and he's big on this other, train for 2024.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, University of Chicago. It's where they all, it's like, it's
who else went to University of Chicago?
Where all these people get assembled.
Yeah. Who else went there, ironically enough?
Who?
The Thinker of Ironies.
Really?
UConn degree. Yeah.
Not surprised.
I don't think you finished though. You may have finished. Yeah, undergrad.
Since people are going to ask what you mean by that, I'll just say KB, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because I love it. Every episode, there are 2 or 3 people in the comments every time saying that there's too much lingo, too much code wording. So
yeah. Apparently, did Thomas Sowell go to the? Oh yeah, he did go to the University of Chicago. Oh no!
Our economics black man is also.
Didn't he? Remember he used to do that show back in the 80s with Milton Friedman?
Yeah, was it him?
It was. He did. Yeah,
he was also on
him.
Firing Line a lot when Buckley was.
I must have been thinking of Firing Line. Yeah. But he did another show when Firing Line. I think Firing Line actually recorded a lot in the University of Chicago Hall.
I mean, Barack Obama's from the University of Chicago, says Bernie Sanders, David Rockefeller, Carl Sagan, James Comey, Kurt Vonnegut, Larry Ellison, Milton Friedman.
Oh my God.
It's
all of the major regime figures in art, literature, economics, politics in America somehow coalesce around Yale and the University of Chicago.
Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Cheney.
Why does this surprise Americans? Like, for example, in England, you can't become prime minister unless you went to, was it Cambridge or Oxford?
That or all the high-class Tories come from what, Eton, right?
Eton, yeah, you can't go. Yeah, that's what. I can't do the A voice. Essentially, you can't get elected unless you go to Eton. Like I can't do AA. I wish.
Or
I
the
could
progressive economist Joseph Stiglitz is from there. Lori Lightfoot went to the University of Chicago.
Oh, Stiglitz went to Chicago.
The NBA head Adam Silver went there.
If you want to talk about Nate Silver went there.
Yeah. Samuel P. Huntington, Ajit Pai. I'm just going through the list now. Nate Silver, a 538.
Did
Craig
Anita Singh go there?
Robert Bork. It's just the lines go on.
It keeps going.
And on.
If you want to talk about the worst, most tepid regime economic takes, read any Stiglitz book. If you want to just hear what the UN and the World Economic Forum think, just read a Stiglitz book. It's no McLaughlin. I think Thomas Sowell was on McLaughlin, but I know Pat Buchanan. That was real television. That was the real Breakthrough Rules back in the day. Where it was Pat Buchanan.
Globalization and its discontents is probably if you want to read the ultimate shitlib book, it's either Globalization, its discontents, or The Price of Inequality.
Yeah.
It's one of the most shitlib books about the need for markets to power to people, and we have to make globalization work in order to lift up everybody for a more progress society. If you really want to see the global South get used all the time, the original 2006 Making Globalization Work has it a lot. I read it in college. It's an awful book. But yeah, influenced by Paul Krugman, Hodgman Chang, Jason Furman, Xavier Briggs, all these shitlib economists.
Did you ever read the Capital one? What was it called? That like when I was in grad school, that was a real big book that everyone read.
You mean the Thomas Piketty book?
Yeah,
Capital. I have a copy of it. Capital in the 21st Century, Thomas Piketty, and I also have Against Piketty, where like 5 economists tell him that he's a lying sack of garbage.
You know what's funny? I had a vision where essentially a future like vice president of America goes to the U Chicago, and she has an illegitimate child that is the father is Thomas 777. So because he banged her in the library, and you know.
The next president of the United States is the bastard child of
Thomas 777. Yeah.
Well, you know, it reminds me of what Paul Fahrenheit once said, that the next American Caesar will be a W.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Hoping for.
You mean W. Bush?
No, I mean W as in starts with a W, ends with the IGGER.
Oh, nice. Probably was the next Caesar of America was listening to Limp Bizkit in 2002. Maybe. No.
God, I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah.
The next American Caesar went to Van's World Tour.
Oh man, bro, I had a friend that played Van's Warped Tour. Yeah, he was an opening band, but like he had, there was like this cokehead. Oh, sorry, I can't say for you. There was this smackhead that was a booker, like a band promoter in my neck of the woods, like would funnel people to Van's Warped Tour like as opening acts whenever they would come to Toronto, and apparently the guy like squelched him out of money and everything. So he got to play Van's Warped Tour.
Hope those shoes were worth it. Now he's on a revenge tour through the Department of the Arts, and will soon take over America.
John Otto, take us to the Matthews Bridge. That was the best intro from my generation, eh? John Otto, take us to the Matthews Bridge. Anyways, we have time for one more article. Do you want to read? Do you want to do the Alexander Adams or Paul Town?
Let's do Paul Town.
All right, yeah. I feel like Alexander Adams deserves like more of a singular thing. I know, like Matthew and
we should bring him on.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. So let's go to the Paul Town. I kind of feel bad for reading because Paul Town's going through a lot now recently. He had this incident on a cozy. You know what? Never mind. Let's just listen. This is an older Paul Town article
from 2019.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, from 2019. So let's go to the screen share and let's go. All right, here you go. So this is from Notes, his old blog that he doesn't maintain anymore. I believe this was like one of the last few articles from it. Zombie synthetic infrastructure. You want to read this one, Prude? So I read the last.
Yeah, I sure can. Yeah. So actually, Friday, May 28th, 2021. I thought this was an older article, but no.
Yeah. But that seems like an old article.
It does in the midst of like it's in early COVID days article. Well, no, because it started in 2020. So like this is midst of COVID article, but still. All right. Something which must be understood in the context with collapse or rot that is happening now, that the psychic is dominant over the physical, is that there is a lagging sort of delay for any of this collapse to rot to be apparent. I don't even like to use the term collapse because with collapse, people envision race riots and Mad Max-style anarchy rather than what it will be, which is critical trust in traditional authorities and institutions reaching a tipping point where not trusting those things, not relying on the law, is seen as the default, and it's stupid to think otherwise.
That's brilliant, by the way.
Very true. I mean, what is societal collapse other than like carefully managed anarchy that they try to keep going? By the time collapse is recognized by the general population, the advantages of knowing the old order has collapsed, which it has already, will be gone, and the new public structure of power will begin to manifest in a manner that is obvious to the general public, but already has its participants chosen and selected, which I feel like we're kind of seeing now.
Oh, yeah.
Think of the piping that controls sewage, the wiring that supplies power, the satellites that ensure communication. All of these are pretty well functioning in the first world. They've been built up and they're currently maintained by companies that have decent people who know what they're doing and are reasonably trustworthy, at least in terms of keeping infrastructure running at a base level. There is corruption and there are bad workers, but this has yet not gotten to a point where the systems are no longer maintained. What happens when the economy really crashes? Not crashes in the way it has in the past, where there is pain and suffering, but that is temporary in nature and can be fixed in the short term by government, but rather a real crash that can't be fixed and doesn't get better. What happens when fiat currency is no longer dominant over digital currency? When profit incentives for good governance no longer exists, when the profit incentives for maintaining infrastructure don't make any sense? What happens when people no longer hire important roles, when it's too dangerous to hire the proper people for infrastructure jobs, as the social environment rewards hiring non-whites regardless of their qualifications? Does the infrastructure stop working right away? No, the infrastructure is functionally dead and doomed, but it doesn't reveal this, and instead in zombie-like in nature, just all like the physical social institutions are now zombie-like in nature.
Whoa.
I mean, this is Land's zombie apocalypse that he describes about democracy and the Dark Enlightenment.
He may have read Land. That's I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, literally, the first chapter of the Dark Enlightenment is called "Neo-Reactionaries Head for the Exit," and then I think a subheading is like "Democracy is Zombie Apocalypse."
Yeah. By the way, you can buy now. You can buy the Dark Enlightenment on Imperium Press. Go to Imperium Press. Pay them directly. Yeah.
That way, you're not reading over blogs. You just have a physical hard copy. I'm an I hate the fact that I have maybe like 2 or 3 gigs worth of PDFs on my hard drive of like books and texts that I pray that I one day get to.
Well, some of them are too expensive. Like the deculturation book is just way too expensive. So
then again, like there are some books that just the publisher will not reprint.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them are like that. Yeah.
Or they're stuck behind like a copyright or whatever. Like they don't want to resume the rights. So frustrating. But we'll get back to the article. Yeah. We are in the zombie stage of Western civilization. The social fabric is being destroyed, and this is more obvious because all the nodes of it are biological in nature. But the social fabric is not the only thing Western civilization has been zombified. The social fabric is just a biological mold-like growth on top of the synthetic infrastructure underlying it. Because the synthetic infrastructure underlying it is dysfunctional and not planned well, it has developed human mold on top of it that will end up destroying it. Well, I mean, you kind of have to require all technical infrastructure requires humans to maintain it. We haven't fully automated everything.
Yeah, true.
You're still going to need sewage repair guys to clean out a clogged pipe somewhere, or take out, someone to get rid of the gator in the sewage system, right? Yeah. Until we get robots to take care of that problem, we're still going to need people. I had to carry on.
Have you ever eaten gator food?
I have not. I've had squirrel, snake, and other things, but gator is on the list.
Yeah.
How much longer do we have before the zombified nature of our synthetic infrastructure becomes obvious? I'm not sure, but I think it's a while. I think it will probably take decades, if not generations. I agree with that.
Yeah.
For what is beginning to occur now to play out in a way that is obvious on a structural level, I think I'll be an old man or dead before what I write here is made clear. But I'm sure it will eventually be made clear. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. As stated before, the collapse won't be some apocalyptic event driven by sudden absconsion of duty. The collapse is more of a self-implosion of the general biological organisms that maintain infrastructure in any competent sense. In that sense, the collapse has already happened. It is just not visible yet. In the future, we can expect normalized blackouts, bad water, dysfunctional safety and transportation in the majority of first world countries. The rich and prudent will decentralize and privatize their access to these things before the going gets really bad. But the infrastructure for the average man, woman, and child will be quite subpar in a way you or I or our parents can't really fathom it being in the first world.
Whoa. Incredible.
Yeah, just look at Jackson, amazing. Mississippi.
Yeah, exactly. But the general biological organisms that maintain infrastructure and since the collapse has already happened. Yeah, I feel like but the way he says it here about the social fabric destroyed, there's much more obvious because all the nodes of it biological nature. I think like the when you think of sort of ideology and belief as a social technology, which I think is like a very old reactionary point. I mean, it's obvious that when you view the sort of operational functioning the sort of programming code of the civilization as itself a sort of what's that underneath the sort of dermis of civilization, right? The sort of skin layer underneath. It's sort of the sedimentary layer that influences all other things. It's sort of like the base towards the super. It's a superstructure that influences the base, obviously. And I feel like a lot of people don't, because like Western like society is so predicated on like this liberal assumption of like perfect voluntarism and perfect freedom. And also like the fact that you're not engaged in a civilization anymore. You're rather engaged in sort of a business-like casual arrangement filled with non-places. And government itself is like a giant non-place that isn't attached to a particular identity or religion or ethnos or any other function that kept a civilization together. Rather, it's a sort of free association arrangement. Therefore, nobody is like really responsible for anything because you are just a sort of individual cog in a greater thing. And there's not even like the sense of and again, this is what Byung-Chul Han means by the erasure of the other. There isn't like a big other, like big government or communism or state ideology that's demanding that there is a constant observation of yourself and a constant sort of panoptical surveillance of the subject. Rather, the other becomes an extension of who you are, and the other can be freely engaged with, and the other can be ignored, and you can decline the demands of the other. But of course, you can never truly decline the demands of the other. Rather, you decline just the ephemera of what you pick and choose to engage with. And that doesn't lead to any sort of advanced society in any sense, because it leads to, on the one end, a technologically advanced society, but then total social collapse and anarchy. And then one thing eventually will have to give way to the other. And so it behooves us to think of society. No, we don't think of it no longer as a collection of peoples that are held together by something more than us. Rather, it is a free association nightmare that isn't really free and doesn't really let you associate with who you want to associate with. But at the same time, we maintain this illusion that we can engage in, in greater society as if it's a business rather than a sort of sacred, cohesive thing that is vital for the functioning of what we are as a people. There's no such thing as a people anymore, or at least we don't think of it that way. Like most like North American peoples in particular don't think of these things the way that even our immediate ancestors thought of them, which I think is like, that's what Paul Town is getting at, as belief as itself a superstructure that informs society. But anyways, I'm just ranting right now. So you go ahead, Prude.
Oh, I think you were onto something there, that myths and, again, like civic religions, like we were talking about in the Daniel Miller article, all those things are part of the superstructure of society. And when you allow that to decay to a point where even Steven Pinker and his like ilk of new atheists, the early 2000s, are now really just gravely concerned that the civilizational woke mind virus, as Elon Musk calls it, that will erode the rest of it. It is a cancer that will destroy the rest of the structure if we're going to look at this organically. Right. What comes out of that, as Paul Town sort of mentions, is like a zombified system. Nick Land talks about it. What have we done? We have generated a incentive structure that only creates more of these problems. I'm actually going to look up the exact phrase from Nick Land because
go ahead.
The phrase itself is actually like really good.
And by the way, see those super chats. I want to hear what you guys have to think. I'm no longer going to read your messages, even though I see a lot of fire comments in the chat here. Saw a guy post about he kept throwing gators over the fence. What?
That sounds perfect.
That's like that one green text where a guy kept taking dumps in the sealed up chimney stack of his neighbors that was like a party college. They rented out to these party kids, these college kids, and he like kept taking dumps in the shaft. And then eventually when it rained one night, like, did you ever read that green text?
I did not. Here's the bit from Nick Land. So he says,
go ahead.
As enlightened zombie tolerance flourishes in the shelter of the democratic megaparasite, a small remnant of reactionaries attentive to the effects of real incentives raise the formulaic question. You do realize that these policies inevitably lead to a massive expansion of the zombie population. The dominant vector of history presupposes that such nuisance objections are marginalized, ignored, and wherever possible silenced through social ostracism. The remnant either fortifies in the basement whilst stocking up on dry provide food, ammunition, silver coins, or accelerates the application process for a second passport and starts packing its bags.
Based.
And I mean, that's sort of what Paul Town's describing there, is just that there are people that are aware of it. And I mean, he is aware of it. There is a certain reality. I mean, Spandrel calls it bio-Leninism, but I mean, or spiteful mutants, as Ed Dutton has described it in his book, which is great. And I think that one of the biggest issues is going to be, well, at some point in time, you are going to need competent people. And that always comes with the uncomfortable hate fat caveat that it's usually the people that this society has decided to demonize.
Yeah, I hate to say it. But then it goes back, I think, to the title of our stream today, which is From 1,000 Apparitions to One. 1,000 ghost-like entities of former beliefs and former civilizational superstructures that have been discarded to the winds. And now society is predicated on like one totalizing desire of essentially just pleasure maxing. And the infrastructure of society, like, this is the problem I feel with managerialism that, you know, Burnham has got to. And I know like AA and other people have like talked about this, right, endlessly about Burnham and the managerial state. The problem is essentially you can never truly create a turnkey society the way that people envision. Like, this is never going to happen. And I feel that the desire to create a totally autonomous turnkey society that can regulate whole bodies of populations, a sort of super moribund, governmentality that is pressed upon the land for all eternity. Like, that's really like the dream. And it's just like, it's never going to happen, because you need the dynamism of civilization will quickly abruptly end when you don't have people, at least on a technocratic level, to service the demands of an advanced civilization. And it's like, this is an old talking point, but it's the truth. And I feel like the sort of proliferation of one mono understanding of what the purpose of civilization is, again, it's like the Zaire. It's like one totalizing thing, which is pleasure maxing. That is the only thing that you can get guaranteed by the government, by a people, by current order Western, managerial liberalism.
Your treats.
It's just like your treats, exactly. And your treats will be internal as well, through AI, through Neuralink. They won't even be physical.
Enjoy your
anymore.
VR chat. Enjoy your replica AI GF. Because they realize that it's easier to keep you placated that way than to encourage the overly expensive consequences of transmaxing. I kind of, that makes me chuckle, but it's just like, I wonder, if it would be easier for a lot of ways to stop lonely people from deciding to transition. Like, how many tweets are out there like, oh, if you can't be the girlfriend, become the girlfriend. Maybe the government will realize, oh, this shit's kind of expensive to maintain as like a public health infrastructure. Maybe AI GFs or whatever would be easier. But if this is me
like
playing,
that one Amarna post.
This is me playing Dungeon Master with the regime of like, well, if I wanted to be even more evil, but perhaps the better hell is actually to keep a permanently dependent client slave class that is literally a tranissary. That's where we're at in some ways. This is that, what are we? Nothing more than people walking around with necrotic flesh that they've cut off to say that this is who we are. This is what I am. And the government will provide it for me, because the only aspect of our value nowadays is the psychic value, validation. You are heard. You are represented. You are seen.
Therapeutic state.
It doesn't, exactly. It's a therapeutic state. And everything that breaks down outside, poor water, poor infrastructure, whatever, you are emancipated from responsibility. You have bought into the state regime. You will bow before the Ishtar RBG statue and thank goodness that she did all of that work for making sure that, you could vacate your
burden,
which is a child. And in doing so, watch as the people that you've demonized be the only people that can maintain your water system or whatever. That was the funny bit about the Jackson, Mississippi thing, was showed that Facebook profile pictures of all those like BoomerCon Gen X dads with like baseball caps taking pictures from their trucks. Millions of those people. Those are the people that fix your water system. Those are the people that fix your AC.
One of the posts I saw was this tech billionaire or millionaire where he was trying to set up this project in like this abandoned, like mostly like minority town in the South. And he said, I can't do it because my stuff, my job sites keep getting looted. Did you ever see this post? I think Aristophanes talked about it. And get this, he had these security cameras, and one of them was this older guy in a loincloth. And then people were pointing out, it's like, is this literally a loincloth? So you have like an advanced tech millionaire trying to do a startup. Maxing. Yeah, no, but think of it. It's like an advanced tech millionaire doing a startup in a destitute, post-offshored American town. And it's literally being looted by barbarians with loincloths on. It's like, there's no greater metaphor for like total civilizational collapse than that. Like it's
well, actually, my favorite metaphor about a lot of things has been that scene from a university in South Africa where a white student is picking up the trash and then two others
they kept throwing it out. Yeah. No, but even like beyond race, it's even like the destitute populations, like in the Appalachians. Like, you don't want to talk, like, I was going to say this about
if you want to talk about evil, go look at all those emails calling those people pillbillies.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, the Sacklers need to be redacted as soon as possible in that regard. Of course,
there's not enough lampposts. Yeah.
There's not enough rakes or lampposts in this country to do this place justice. So maybe the Sodom and Gomorrah treatment will inevitably come. But
no, but when you look at like who can constitute like traditionally the fighting front infantry of the American hardware of the U.S., the USM, right? It's been those people in the Appalachians, but now it's like you give them a bunch of pills and opioids and fent, and you totally decimate them through offshoring and importation of like Wuhan made fentanyl. Like, what's going to happen? It's not, those people aren't, put it this way, through obesity and through the opioids and through other things, those people aren't fit for military service.
No, they're not. And it's been a documented national security problem for like 30 years. It's like, as long as you and I've been alive, there have been some reports by the Department of Defense that it's an issue. And what makes it even worse, though, right, is that like even weed has gotten stronger from like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Where there are more. A friend of mine is a hospice nurse and it works with elderly people, and she had described the levels of like literally what she's like. This is literally reefer madness because these boomers are not used to, such high concentrations of THC.
No, they were smoking Panama Red. That was their strongest thing back in the day.
Yeah, now they're doing like 100%, either through gummies or through a vape pen, and they lose their fucking minds.
Yeah, they're just going like literal reefer madness.
They're like, oh, well, I used to do this with some Negroes back in the days. Can't be so bad. And then they lose their bloody minds. Like, that's where,
Are the military recruiting Zoomers now? That's a scary thought.
Well, that's the whole.
I'm busting on this Iranian for real. Like it's.
Well, it's like all those memes about doing Fortnite dances over some Iranian or Chinese kid's grave or whatever after they.
On the battlefield.
I doubt that would happen, although someone would try. Great way to get shot, but I find. I don't know. They're doing the e-girl thing, and then there was another bit about. There was an article I was just. Well, no, that too, but. Hold on. There was an article I saw earlier today about women in the military, and it said something about that here it is. This is from the Military Times. So this was yesterday by a woman named Megan Myers. And I'm not going to support not turning off my ad blocker. Go screw yourself. Experts, data point to women as best military recruiting pool by Megan Myers.
Oh, I saw this. Yeah. I saw people were spoofing on this.
Well, yeah, but they said. So I'm just going to read the first 3 paragraphs. They're very short.
Now, you think JPB smokes weed?
He should start. That would maybe calm him the F down. But then again, I don't know how that would interact with his ex-Benzo's problem.
Yeah, it would make it worse.
Probably, yeah. So, quote, the United States military is coming up on 50 years as an all-volunteer force at a time when the services are facing a historically difficult uphill battle finding enough qualified volunteers to fill their ranks. With that in mind, social scientists, military experts, and national security strategists came together at the Naval Academy on Wednesday to tackle some pressing questions. What will the military do in 2040? Who will serve in it? And how will it recruit people? Third paragraph. Diversity is a top-line requirement, multiple experts said. To put a finer point on it, U.S. demographic data and the population shows that women are surpassing men in education as men's participation in the workforce is dropping.
I wonder how that happened.
Oh, God, here's the worst part.
That was totally an organic phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, totally organic as we deindustrialized and debased the West. But here's the next paragraph's awful. I think it's important for us to say it out loud. We're going to need to rely more on women. Lindsay Cohn, an associate professor of national security affairs at the Naval War College, said at the panel of the future of the all-volunteer, all-recruited force symposium. Like, what are we doing other than... They're not going to fight on the front lines. They're not.
No.
You're literally asking them
Nor would you want them
longhouse itself to fill out all of those, like, oh God, there's going to be more female MPs. Sorry, if you ever get pulled over on post, you're going to get shot.
No, it's not that women can't like aim and you know, what's the what's
okay,
the
but what's the
narrative?
What's the narrative that we saw out of like the war in Iraq? Okay, who was the first person that became like the sort of G.I. Jane style figure? It was Jessica Lynch, and the story that they spun was the complete opposite of what actually happened. And now she is a middle school teacher living her life. She's in her 40s or late 30s. Yeah, she's actually 40 something, and had a brief acting stint. But it was all falsehood. But we spin ourselves these narratives for the sake of that. I mean, what is progressivism? What is this current religiosity other than what Paul Town talks about? It's a human mold. It's like a fungal infection that is going to cause sort of a Last of Us style, you know, zombie-like plague.
Yeah.
Where we're going to rage against cognitive dissonance, rage because of our cognitive dissonance. We're going to rage against pattern recognition. And you know, at this point, a lot of people do tell you to prepare and have resources and networks. You know, Led Pacer on Twitter is a really great example of this. Like, you need to have a network and some mechanism to make sure that you are not entirely dependent, because things will get worse. And if you live in a major metropolitan area, like, you know, for instance, Texas has its problems with ERCOT and its ability to maintain its power grid, or you're in a Jackson or a Flint, Michigan style situation. All these things.
They say Texas is going to have a brownout soon.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. We haven't. Yeah. Our power grid is in the same way like our road infrastructure is. It is not designed for the population growth that we've experienced in the last 30 years, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's not even like, you know, it's not that women can't like. Well, okay, we know it's like it's a fact that a woman can't lift as much or their body is structured in a different way than men, in terms of like endurance and the task that being frontline infantry requires of you. But also, like, I hate to say it, like, you know, it's not empowering to see women on the front lines. Rather, that's barbaric. Like, even the shield maiden thing, there were like Viking women that fought a little bit. But I believe, I forget who went into this. Was it Stony Herbalist? That
he
talked
did
about
it,
like,
and Survive the Jive has talked about it. Those are the two people I know who've more or less.
Survive the Jive. Yeah, that was tip of my tongue. He followed me again on Twitter. I can't believe that. But I believe he debunked the whole like fetish over shield maidens, that it wasn't like as big of a thing as you people thought, right? Like, no civilization, I don't think, wants to see women get ripped apart in like industrial warfare. I don't think, like, that's not a very good, like, that is not a sign of like empowerment or civilizational health.
Well, it's the inverse of all biological reality. Men are expendable. Women have never been expendable.
No, exactly. Nor would you want them to be expendable. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. It's just like, I don't want to see women. And plus, like, some of the enemies that you would have to fight in the front line. Do you really want to know what happens to women when they get captured by the enemy soldiers? No, exactly. So I can't, certain things I can't say, oh yes, but of course, the Stalingrad snipers. Yes, of course. There was 1 million Stalingrad sniper women. Okay, there was a few. I'm not belittling it. But I believe the Soviet army, even the Soviet Red Army, they didn't, like, it wasn't like hundreds of thousands of women volunteered. Like, there was a few women, but it wasn't like what they put it this way, even the Soviets had sexism, okay? That's not, you know what I mean?
They would have rather strapped bombs to dogs to run under Panzer tanks before they sacrificed women. Like, let's be very realistic here.
Yeah, I don't like. I mean, that's barbaric as well, but I don't agree with that. But I mean, if you had to choose between a dog and a woman, I mean,
who could potentially carry on your, bloodline?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the women would not want to see those dogs sacrificed as well. I'm kidding. I'm joking. See again. That's safe, G. That's safe, G. I can't. No, but you know what I mean. Like it's not like. Didn't the Germans do that as well? They had dogs that they
both sides.
Both sides. That's terrible. I don't like. That's terrible. That's I don't abide by that. That's not good. I don't believe in that. I mean, it's not. I mean, when it comes down to like sacrificing a human versus sacrificing an animal, obviously, but like that's too much. That's kind of cruel.
The U.S. government in its time. We
put monkeys into space.
Well, that too. They put dogs into space, but I was thinking about, what is it? Concept.
I believe that there's dead cosmonauts on the moon that we just don't talk about.
Probably.
And that there's aliens up there.
I kind of buy into the lost cosmonaut concept.
Yeah, theory.
Yeah, I totally I buy into it. I buy into it.
Airbud meets Saving Private Ryan. That's brutal. That's terrible. Like, you people are too much.
I want a bunch of German shepherds behind an MG42 at the Omaha beaches.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Labrador. Bunch of Labrador retrievers going there. Oh, with like bombs strapped to them. Oh, that's terrible. I believe in Iraq they experienced like camel that were remote bombers. Man, Glow in the Dark's really paying out here.
Yeah, bat bombs. That's what I was thinking about. The U.S. government had tested that idea of hibernating Mexican free-tailed bats with small incendiary bombs attached. Dropped from a bomber at dawn, the casings would deploy a parachute mid-flight, open to release the bats, which would disperse and roost in eaves and attics in a 20 to 40-mile radius. The incendiaries, which were set on timers, would ignite them and start fires in inaccessible places. In largely wood and paper construction of Japanese cities, the weapons were the intended target for firebombing.
Oh, that's brutal.
Project X-Ray, designed by Louis Fieser, an American organic chemist and professor who, was known for inventing napalm, synthesizing vitamin K and cortisone. Absolute genius, but also a madman.
It's like, how can we carry bombs? Oh, bats! Like that's what comes to mind. You know, there's historical precedent because back in the medieval days, they would use pigeons. They would strap wicks on them because of the thatch roofing. So you'd have like whole cities under castles that would just burn because the pigeons kept burning the thatch roofs. Oh, that's brutal. I love pigeons. I always had pigeons when I was a kid.
Yeah. Do you know Conscious Caracol raises pigeons?
Really?
Yeah, he does. Apparently his family is part of like a tradition of racing pigeons.
Wow, I gotta talk to him about that. I had a few racing pigeons. My old man did.
I had a stream not too long ago, and one of his pigeons was on his shoulder for like the whole time.
Whoa, amazing! He should have a caracol. You know they use caracols for hunting.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they would like take like usually varmint hunting. They would go into they would burrow into like the holes of different species of.
They should start using. They should start using them more for protecting their farms.
Yeah. That could work. Caracols are actually pretty, like they say that if you train them well, they're actually pretty friendly, but they have to scream a lot. They scream all the time. They growl all the time.
Huh.
That's how they communicate. Yeah. But anyways, we want to do super chats? Or?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, we don't have time for the Alexander Adams, but next week maybe
we should dedicate. I'll DM him and see if we can get him on next week.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We had planned to do these tech ruins articles, but while I'm scrolling up, I want to say my first super chat comes $10 from Mulan. He sent me privately on my PayPal, so my PayPal link is in the description. If you want to send me another one.
You should put it in the chat and have it as your pinned comment, like I do for
I should. Let me go to my link tree, actually. So I'll put it in the chat while I'm scrolling up here. So where is it? PayPal donos.
Yes, but what was his super chat?
He just said sneeding super chat. So
wow, someone.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of sneeding, since it's that time of the episode, there we go.
Oh, there you go. But I'll put it in the chat later. But you can find it in the description on my link tree as well. So if you go to linktree/GiantGeo, it'll be there too. So it's on my phone. I know that when I get them. So let's see. Okay, so here we go. First one of the night. I believe it was it. Who was it? A patron of mine.
Is it for $1?
Well, I have a bunch of John Chapman for $9.99. I'm with Tucker. Let's liberate Canada. Watching live because I'm working from home. Thank you, John Chapman. Great patron of mine. I think I sent him also. He's a $20 patron. So I think I sent him some of my artist prints. So $5, Son of Hester. Here's an off-topic sneed. Prude, have you seen the new film what's that? Skin and Marink? Big analog horror influence, more than we're seeing in the theater.
I have not. I haven't been inside a movie theater since this summer.
Yeah.
I think the last film I watched in theaters was Elvis. And I have a love-hate relationship with that movie.
Yeah. They did it.
I want to enjoy it for the purpose that I like Elvis as a musician. And then it's like I can't overlay it. Like, why are we having like 2020 rap music when he's visiting like a black club in Memphis, Tennessee?
What?
Yeah, and Ace loves it, but it's basically nostalgia for
because he hates Frank Sinatra. That's why he loves it.
He hates Frank Sinatra? Oh, I
didn't know this?
I didn't know this, but I totally disavow Ace and all of his opinions if he hates Frank Sinatra.
No, he's got like an elaborate theory about why that type of music could never last outside of the 60s.
I don't care. It's still good music.
No, but like he's got. I was actually very offended at first, but then he like went into it. You should talk about it with him. Maybe we'll get Ace on the show.
I'll DM him and ask, but right now, on the face of it, no thanks. But no, I haven't seen that film. I know that someone should. I know that you're not the first person to recommend it to me, so I guess I could give it a watch. Maybe write a review.
Yeah, I'll watch it. It's found footage. So yeah, the $1. So Fishy Frenzy for $1. Thank you.
Let's go. Actually, he did the math in the chat saying you actually get 41
Spasticus
cents.
Autisticus did for $1. This is what he said. What a bastard, Spasticus Autisticus. I said one pound. The government takes 17 cents in taxes. Then 83 cents, the further reduced by 30% to 58 cents because of the App Store taking their cut. This then further reduces it to 41 because of YouTube cut.
You could totally turn this into a copy pasta with like a miserly Jewish dad. 1 pound. What do you need 83 cents for? After the cut, it's only 58 cents. Enjoy your 41 cents. I'm calling the police. I've been robbed of 41 cents.
That's oh my God. That'd be real Ebenezer Scrooge. Excuse to pick a man's pocket every 24th of December. Fishy Frenzy for $2. Review the Austrian painter's paintings individually. Maybe we'll do a stream one day like that. I don't know. Could you get away with that?
That'd have to go on Odyssey.
Me and Prude actually we were thinking of doing paywalled content. One will be about mass fun posters. Another will probably be the Austrian painter one, and we'll probably release it on both of our paywalled sites. So we were thinking of doing the more edgy content.
Days. Yeah, the
one of these days. You know what? This month we could do the fun poster one. So,
do you want to do the painting one then in April?
Yeah, sure. We'll do that.
Just to be on the nose.
Yeah, we could do like a paywall version once a month or once every few months.
Sure.
Yeah, we could do that. Edgier content.
I was just being facetious because of April the 20th, but yeah.
That's right. Listen, April the 20th, 4 men went against history. Okay. Austrian painter's birthday. The end of Waco, David Koresh, and of course, what happened? April 20th? Call him Dylan and Eric. So, 4 men. I posted that tweet once, but then I was annoyed, so I deleted it. This was last year. I said 4 men went against history. went against time on that day, April 20th. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I do not endorse. I disavow. Okay. I'm not
if
saying
anyone plays that clip, we will say it was AI generated.
Exactly. Exactly. And Glow in the Dark's been paying out this stream. My God, thank you, Glow in the Dark. Do I have any PayPal ones? I also have Buy Me a Coffee too. So if you want that, and amazing that the wise. So for $5, Glow in the Dark. It's amazing that the wise men of old were ignored because those that profess themselves as the enlightened can't conceive the wise man's prophecies. 100%. Amazing message. What do you have to say to that, Prude? Are you there, Prude? Oh.
No, I'm here. I mean, sometimes I feel like when we, especially on the right, we'll read these older guys, whether it's Spengler or even just the actual people of antiquity. I've noticed this a lot with reading up on the lives of the saints. It's just like, unless you're part of the specific tradition, this is all going to fall on deaf ears.
Right.
It's like a lot of these so-called prophets of doom, which I think is the title of AA's upcoming book.
Yeah. No, did it already happen or you had it a week
I think he's finally finished it and sent it off.
Okay. Yeah.
But, it's like Cassandra. All these terrible, terrible things that were bound to come. The decline or the consequences of divorcing ourselves from a nation and a people or even a religious tradition. And here's where we're at. The modern day Cassandras, or really the perennial Cassandras that have been given these terrible prophecies that fell on so many deaf ears.
Nice. No, it's true. I mean, we live in, again, like that statue, we live in the age of Ishtar and Cassandra. So there you go. But thank you, Fishy, for another $5 for Glow in the Dark. I was going to say Fishy Frenzy. The way you explain it sounds like Pinocchio story. Games, toys, and treats, so those that make the decisions take advantage of it. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
And instead of transforming into asses, they transform into gross homunculi that are supposed to be women.
Did you see that Amarnite post where the Amarna forums post where it was like, if you dated a girl of your dream? Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Even the girl boss nowadays is transforming because that one tweet by, I think he's Daniel on Twitter, about the girl boss, like her qualifications of like what she does like for a living.
Oh, because she said she makes like $850K a year and she can't keep a man, right? That post?
she travels and she's like goes to the gym. And so essentially they were saying that girl bosses create like they've achieved the man that they want. And so no man wants them because it's too intimidating. And of course my take was that she needs to find an artist to leech off of her, kind of like Henry Miller.
Oh, a bohemian leech. I think I saw your tweet about it.
Yeah, and then he makes up for it by immortalizing her through the work of art. So that's but basically girl bosses are essentially doing what they want in men, and a very, very tiny pool of men can keep up with that. You know what I mean? So it's, what are you gonna do? Do you have any thoughts about that, Prude?
I feel like the girl boss is just the female form of transmaxing. If you can't be the boyfriend, become the man that you want.
That's incredible. It's true though. It's true.
Like this is the consequence of lean in feminism. The Sheryl Sandberg's great project is that just deploy all forms of purgation. Remove your femininity, and you too can survive in the workforce. Become a disagreeable harpy. Be the very thing that doesn't make women women. Be masculine in your psyche and behavior, and you too can be a cutthroat piece of work.
Sigma grind set.
Get on the grind set, make $850K a year, travel, have fun, drink, go out with your friends, basically live the life of Sex in the City. And what do you become? There is no Mr. Big waiting for you because you have turned into Mr. Big. You have turned into the man that you desperately want. And when you watch as the society that has elevated you on this economic and social pedestal, and you look around and realize that you are all alone, looking down at the men that you've decided to, leave behind, or watch as a society writ large has pushed them into the far gone peripheries of our social world. And that's what's happened, is that men have been pushed to the periphery. We've deindustrialized, we've dethroned and emasculated them. And now she's all up there making almost $1 million a year, wondering why no one wants her. She is the man.
Man, we need a digital Archipelago Prude Rant compilation. That was fire, bro. It's true though. No, it's 100%. Like they become the man that they've wanted, and it's like it has devastating consequences. It's
Sorry, I just saw Kevin Clearman's comment in the chat.
Well, I'll get to it. So, yeah.
I agree though, Kevin. I try to be nice because we're both monetized and I can't go too far.
Yeah. I'm really worried about.
I already got in trouble last week because I had to apply. Oh yeah, I did say it.
Hopefully the algorithm doesn't pick up on it.
Probably not. Although like I got the yellow dollar sign last week and I got it quickly reviewed.
Me too. Yeah, they didn't review. It took them like a day and a night for them to like review mine.
It took me 6 hours. I was genuinely surprised though because I haven't had a yellow star in a year and a half. That was the first time I had gotten one flagged, and I was like, oh man.
The only time I had a hard flag that was not reviewed was the Nick Land stream, which I guess like they probably saw Nick Land like, nope, that's not monetizable. Another $5 by Glow in the Dark. Thank you, my friend, at $15 now. Here's a fun story. When the EVs and charge stations for them leave safe rich areas, who EVs?
Electric vehicles.
Okay, they get stripped of their copper. Electric vehicles won't in the wilds of the U.S. That's hilarious.
I saw a tweet about that where it showed like a Tesla charging station, and the handles were still locked into the charging system, but the wires were gone. It's just like I think it was Ben Braddock or somebody being like, "Yeah, this is going to be stripped for copper."
Man, that's hilarious. Is copper still worth it to strip nowadays?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Almost all metals are because of the supply chain shortages.
Well, because 10 years ago, China was like buying up all the scrap. Remember that? That was, nowadays, like.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they can enjoy all that scrap with their subpar construction.
No, but I think like scrap is making a comeback, they said. So,
yeah,
we'll see. Luthen Plier, I don't know if I could read this. The true hell will be the billionaire who buys ChatGPT, Boston Dynamics, and Voice AI. Sexbot dystopia feels realer than Neo Vagine. That's what Vouch said, by the way. He said that on stream once.
Neo Vagine arrives from the future.
Oh, he's like, no, it feels actually pretty good. Do you remember that one?
No, I don't.
It was a clip on YouTube, on Twitter as well. Metaphysics. Metaphysics keeps chiding me for interrupting people, but you're right. I do interrupt people. I gotta tune that down a bit. So, another $10 by Glow in the Dark. Whoa, $25. Can't wait for a wheelchair. Oh, I know what he's doing. Look, instead of just giving me the $25, he's like piecing it out so I could read more comments. It's pretty brilliant.
Smart man.
Can't wait for the wheelchair soldiers that will scare the Russians. Women are so aggressive they will ram enemy vehicles. Don't worry if trans battalions take 40%.
Look, man, the wheelchair thing just reminds me of the D&D stuff where they were talking about the first player handbooks for characters in a wheelchair. The wheelchair is indestructible, and apparently, like, you can use it to ram people, and it does like basically the same damage as I think it was like a rapier or something. But it was just like, oh, an indestructible thing that I can use as a free weapon, and like it's better actually to be in the wheelchair than it is to be a walking character. So by being gimped as a PC, you are actually more powerful than
a normal
abled players.
Yeah, you could mount a gun turret on it. You could like have a Browning 50 cal, just like shredding him. Like it reminds me of the wheelchair guy from Happy Wheels. Like, you know what's funny? Apparently Tobuscus, he's tweeting some pretty based and red-pilled stuff. So his post-cancellation made him more red-pilled. Even though Tobuscus was in the Gamergate Law and Order episode. Do you remember that?
The base draft.
Yeah, apparently they didn't tell him about... look at this! Another $1.99! MG, $1.99. Thoughts on Puss in Boots' Last Wish? I don't have any opinions on that. I haven't read the plot. But
I have not seen a Shrek movie since
the original Shrek.
Oh God!
No, I think I saw
maybe Shrek 3. Shreks, I don't know, the third or whatever was probably the last one I've seen. I have not seen it. I've heard from others that are married with kids that the movie's actually pretty good, but
Yeah?
I don't think I will ever will
Aristophany
myself
said
to
it was
see it.
pretty good.
Yeah, I know. That's who I'm referring
Yeah.
to. I don't know if I ever will find a reason or will to do so. There you go, Khalifa. You're much more forward about it than I am.
Yeah, Luthen Pliers pain. I do not disavow Ace because he's a fellow metalhead, and I don't know. He's pretty. No, but he's pretty. He's not.
I'll DM him about his take on Sinatra, but my knee-jerk reaction is to totally disavow.
Yeah. Now I'm scared to read this one because I really don't want to do this. For $5, Fishy Frenzy. Thank you for the $5, by the way, Fishy Frenzy. Oh my God. Review Chris Raygun's Social Justice, the musical series on the Digital Archipelago, or please just cover anything Gamergate does. We could do that, actually. We could do
that'd be a lot of fun to do. That'd be just a trip through the...
Yeah.
Inject that nostalgia into my veins.
If I can find it, my best friend in real life, he sent this to me years ago. It was the Akun Gamergate in action thread about why it was a glow op. You ever read that one?
No.
The 8chan thread on Gamergate?
I have not.
Oh, it's good. I'll send it to you. I'll see if I can find it again.
Is this the one where
probably has...
There was another... So, I know someone else... I mean, he and I are not on good terms anymore, but he also did a thread on Gamergate where he had covered all the major players that had like deep connections to...
Yeah.
And hasn't Schwab talked about this too?
Yeah, Schwab
one of his Substack posts where like basically all these folks were like really connected to high up people or institutions.
You know who wasn't?
Who?
During Gamergate? Who wasn't connected to Glowies?
The regular gamer?
Oh, no, him too, but no. Yeah, them too. No, come on.
Gamers. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Carl.
no. Yeah, Sargon was the only one who had clean hands in the whole thing. It's funny because
who did not glow despite all accusations.
Yeah, there are people that accused him. There was a certain someone as well that I won't name because I don't want to get logged by him. That like made these videos about how he's like he was like the Don, the capo, the guy that had a million capos. No, but the only guy who remained morally pure and who didn't have glow in the dark connections was Sargon, Saint of Swindon, Carl of Akkad. So there you go. There's no amount of like suching him off that I won't do to get him on the Digital Archipelago.
Sargon all along.
He's
the only one who's made it.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, the best AI voice I saw was someone took the Bleep Sama thread on Islam and like got Sargon to read it. Oh man,
I love it. Love it.
$5. The one that really got me was where he's like the imams are basically like cheat Let's Players on YouTube that can guarantee you like no clipping into Jana. Like listen, I got a lot of respect for Islam, but that was a pretty funny it's $5. Spasticus Artisticus, our good friend. Gio, please tell Prue to stop slipping handwritten notes under my door. I like him, but not in that way. Oh, Prude. Oh, no.
Oh, so for context, this has to do with this god-awful... There's this god-awful woman, and I will leave it at that because there are words that I want to use that I will not because we're on YouTube. But she had posted...
Is she on Twitter or YouTube?
No, this was on Twitter. And she had posted a handwritten note, as feminine as ever, saying it was from Nick Fuentes with some anti-Semitic remarks. And her foundation, which is the perfect match to her skin tone, by the way, totally applicable. And I had quote tweeted and I had said, listen, I'm not,
Is this Cassie Dillon?
I no. Literally had a very last name that you would know very quickly who it is. But I just quote tweeted and I said, look, I'm not Nick Fuentes' like biggest fan or whatever, but I said this is obviously BS. This dude has years of handwriting examples to know that this is like ethno-narcissistic victim mentality on full display. And my follow-up was a picture of Nick writing on a whiteboard, and the handwriting's clearly different. And Spasticus Autisticus had replied saying, like, I don't believe you. And he had sent a handwritten note of his saying, that I have feelings for him or whatever. And I had replied with my own handwriting on a note saying that he's heading for a block. So
whoa, I
was being facetious, but yeah, keep it up, Spasticus. Keep it up.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's whoa.
that kind of woman.
Oh my god. Oh my God, she got griped so hard.
Oh, did she? Thank God.
Yeah,
It was just so. It
her
was so
eyes
on
look
display.
weird. They look like that. The face and the eyes, just like she's got that Joker smile. Like you know. You know what's funny though? I like a lot of people like listen. I shouldn't say anything when it comes to this particular figure, but I will defend him in this one point. There was this journalist that accused Nick of like this guy that did some fun posting in real life of like being a top, what do you call it? A top lieutenant. And like Nick went in a space with this guy and he's saying like, no, listen, this guy was just at my event. He took a picture of me. That doesn't make him like a top whatever of the AF organization. And so like, that's one point I will say that like, you can't like, okay, as much as you don't agree with someone, you can't like go around just slandering him saying like this fake thing happened. You know what I mean? Like the guy with the hand, the woman here with the handwriting, like even like,
and she's not the first person to do this either.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Like how many other sort of ethnic grifters on the left have done this before?
Yeah.
I mean, Scott Wiener, state senator from California, about like, oh, you're a big pedo or whatever. And it's like, dude, you didn't even take the time to like print out the document so we can clearly see that you were the one typing this. These people, I mean, they really do think you're that stupid.
Yeah. No, but even like, I even think like people try to catch like Natalie ContraPoints in some fake thing too. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's just, you can't like go around like even recently what happened, like is again, people know my opinion in him, but even like with Ethan Ralph, where like these, like the sector of drama YouTubers, they clearly caught like, he like opped them about like him and Pantsu breaking up, or like they had some other fake thing about him. Like you don't have to like fake things to make people look bad on the internet. You know what I mean? Like I don't agree with that. As much as I may not like agree with certain figures, it's just like I don't feel comfortable with like running ops on people to like, you know what I mean? Like the guy that committed this act in public, he clearly wasn't a quote unquote lieutenant of America First. Like it's, and so, you know, Fuentes rightly, okay, not that I agree with like, you know what I mean? Like, not that I agree with like calling like all of your opponents a certain ethnicity. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But still, this guy like legit slandered him by saying that this guy who committed a terrible act was an AF lieutenant, which he wasn't. He just took a picture. Like, I'm sure like if I did a public event and I took a picture with somebody and this guy went and committed whatever, like they're going to slander me. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, I shouldn't be talking about this in public, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not cool by making stuff up. Like, even figures you hate, you shouldn't like make things up about whoever, you know what I mean? Like, as much as I hate Natalie, as much as I hate ContraPoints, I'm not going to say that certain accusations are true just because some deranged Discord moderator said they were true. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you shouldn't do that. Like, it's not, you have to like, I shouldn't even be saying this. I mean, it should go without saying, but it's like, that's the world we live in right now. So, and people make fake stuff up about BAP, you know, I don't believe in that. Like, you shouldn't go and slander someone just because.
I mean, there are, if you're on the right, there are like 3 words that are going, like there are 3 accusations that
people make stuff up about Warren all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's literally it's 3 things, right? That they're automatically going to go after you. It's either that you come, it's Fed. It's either that you come from a certain tribe of a certain place in the Middle East.
Yep.
Or usually some kind of like, oh, you're brown or a race mixer. Like those are the 3 that will automatically get you discounted. And I mean, this is saying a lot because the right wing tolerates
a lot of that. Yeah.
A lot of. We love our right wing case, don't we, fellas? There's a lot of them. Let's not kid ourselves.
Well, I was gonna say the mixing part. We tolerate some of that.
Well, we do, but
depends on what sector.
Depends on where. But those are like the 3 things that kind of get you declared anathema, or it kicks you out of the intellectual ghetto, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have to be you have to be careful when you're going to levy this accusation. Oh, that guy's a Fed. Oh, that guy's like, you know, and it's just like.
No, the Fed jacketing thing as well. I will say like that's another big problem. You can't just like immediately, like as much as you may not like certain organizations, you can't just immediately say that they're a Fed without, you know what I mean? Like it's not cricket. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I like, unless you know for a fact, like there has been Feds that have been outed that have pretended to be like like even like that guy that Hunter.
And it's even worse on the.
That went after Ron Paul.
Oh, trying to remember.
Guy. He was like he was a YouTuber. He wore a mask.
Oh,
yeah.
Antifa.
Yeah.
I remember
that guy. But anyways, we got to move on to the super.
Yeah, way to go, Spasticus Autisticus, for £2. He got that much out of us.
Yeah, there you go. For he should send in another 100 just for that.
He's done it before.
Yeah, he's done it before. No, I mean, yeah, we love our Spasticus Autisticus. We love our
spaz.
Yes. For $9.99 by my good friend, my top Janny, the man who deletes 1,000 bots from my Telegram channel, little Hoosh Arsenius. When shall you cover classical music topics on the pod? There's a broad sub-community forming on Twitter, and we shall be forced to be reckoned with. Mark my words. I promised this. The problem is I don't listen to enough classical music, but I'm getting into it. I want to have Philip Daniel and Brahms Respecter on Content Minded one day. So look forward to that in the future. I promised Philip Daniel that I'll have him on the pod, but that'll happen one day. This could be JJ right here. Mr. Theo Tugboat, Meshuggah's new album goes hard is all. For $1.99, thank you, Theo Tugboat.
I love the name.
I've listened to songs here and there, but I got to listen to the whole album. I haven't listened to like a newer metal album in like, oh God, like a long time actually. I think like last year I didn't listen to new stuff, but for $4.99 by your good friend Luthen Plier, my face when the Junestad sends the turf waffen to the Ukraine front line. Well, hey, if Britain gets involved, you know that the turfs are going to be sent to the front line by the British government.
J.K. Rowling personally drafted by Rishi Sunak.
Mary Harrington's going to go against Wagner in the front lines.
The latest from Unheard.
What was the who you were replying to while I was reading super chats? What was it? Kevin Clareman. What did he say? Sardine.
No. It was he thought I was going to use another 4-letter word to describe women.
Oh, whoa.
I was just like, no, I wasn't going to because this is YouTube.
Look at Fishy right here. Gio's actually no, I'm not.
No.
Come on.
Gio is probably the straightest man on Twitter.
I've been told by a rad femme that I'm the straightest man on right-wing Twitter. So there you go.
It's high praise coming from rad femmes.
Yeah. I'd marry John D. Are you kidding me? He'd be a good no, but I feel like he'd be kind of would John D be a selfish lover, you'd feel? Or would he like make up for it? Like I don't know.
I don't know Mr. D that well to answer that question in any capacity, but I think that
I feel like if you were married to him, he'd probably defend you. He'd probably be like, you know.
Oh, Mr. D defends me quite well as it is, but I mean, I don't know if Kevin's even referring to John D. I thought he was referring to Catherine D.
No, he said Mr. D.
Oh, okay. Really? In that chat just now? Go back to it.
Let me go back to it.
You just said D. Which I guess
Gio is actually gay. Gio and D are married. Oh, he may no, listen, I'm not.
Wow, I was giving you the implication that you were the most heterosexual man. It's Cat.
Oh, it's Cat.
And you immediately went for the man. Maybe you
are
gay.
No, because you know why I went for it? Because
Kevin,
you're right. He called me gay. Yeah, no, so yeah, because the other guy called
he thought Mr. D. Well, way to go.
I see, yeah. So I thought Mr. D, but really he was subject to James defending me by saying I was married to Catherine. But no, I'm not married to Catherine D. I wish I was, but I'm not. But you know, she's more of a sister to me. So she has a fiance. So it's but you know, maybe if you wanted to meme me being married to Gifts and Given as a thing, that could be a meme magic you could pull. That could be an ops, you know, that could be a psychic ops. That could be a hyperstition, you know. Never mind. I'm not gonna. I've said too much. But finally, glow in the dark for $5. Prude, help me out here, bro.
Why? I haven't checked the chat in forever.
No. When I said that if you wanted to meme magic Gifts and Given being married to me, then you know what's funny? Every time she comes on the pod, people say, "Gio, is she your girlfriend?" Like it's oh.
I don't know if that's a hyperstition that you want to manifest into reality.
What, me being married to Gifts and Given?
It's a monkey's paw situation when it comes to memeing things into the real life. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you're right. You're true. You never know what you're true. You're right. You're right. But still, a guy can dream. $5 by another $5 by Glow in the Dark. He's really, man. He's my CIA handler. He's my CSIS handler. Glow in the Dark. Got an idea to fix immigration. Send them to you. That's terrible. That's terrible.
I said this on Semiagog's stream with Martin Selder and a few others. No, I didn't say that specifically, but I said, like, it doesn't matter what side you take. The real tragedy is both of those countries are, like, demographically doomed.
Yeah, true.
It doesn't matter who wins out of this conflict. Both countries are going to, like, lose their cultural and ethnic identities very quickly to the powers that be through immigration and 15-minute cities and digital, passports and things like that. With open borders and a Schengen area for the Balkans, it's going to be a disaster in which what made those countries what they were.
Balkan Schengen, oh my God.
Which really just means that you can just drive to the next town and knife somebody. But that's the powers that be would like that. And
I thought that already happened in the Balkans.
It's going to continue. This war's only going to make it worse. Especially if other countries get involved.
No, oh yeah, you're right. But I think, like, I do think there's a way for Russia to be demographically stronger after this, but that would require that NATO doesn't intervene. But I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? I mean, no, but you're right. They will take a demographic toll as well. I mean, they have to. That's like, even just to fight the war. But yeah, you're like that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel like there will be a period of, but anyways, we could talk about that we should talk about the Prudent observations about the current, if there's going to be another big offensive, who knows?
I was thinking about doing something on the 25th, sort of near the anniversary.
You should do something with War Report, with Constantine and GSP.
I have not done anything with them. I know that you have, but yeah, maybe one of these days.
Well, I've been talking. I got to talk to Goran about something. So, yeah. Another $5 by Glow in the Dark. Immigrants are more American than Americans. So fighting for that one nation in the Middle East and Ukraine should be something they're great at. Well, I guess he justified his policy position there. Oh, man, that's terrible.
I nominate Joel Berry to go first.
Yeah, exactly. I nominated Joel Berry. Did Joel Berry have pro-blue yellow takes? Probably.
I mean, he's also got unabashedly pro-other country takes.
True.
That meltdown was something to behold.
Oh man, it was incredible. The Telegram chats were like going off. But you know what's funny?
It was the one time I saw like Joel Davis, Keith Woods, and Theoltide actually agree on something.
Yeah. The best one today I saw was Rag Nationalist. It was the open relationship TikTok with like these ugly women.
Oh yeah, saying that they're all getting ready to share their husbands.
Yeah, and then he said there's at least 3 people that have Black Rifle Coffee merchandise in this. It's like literal like a flyover state polyamory, which is not.
Well, it's Hicklibs, and it's also it's. I don't know if you've ever watched a single episode of Letterkenny, but it's the same thing.
Yeah,
we're gonna take these sort of like nice rural, what you would consider conservative people, and it's like the farmer couple across there, they're in an open marriage and they're swingers, and they like try to get a third all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's a disgusting inversion. It's a projection of their values. It's like even for Cape shit, right? They have that Lois or not Lois. Oh yeah, they have like Superman and Lois, but like they're urbanite shit libs that moved back to Smallville, Kansas.
Yep.
And it's the worst kind of thing ever. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common, and there should be interstate immigration policies, but that's just me.
Can they ever find a poly couple that has good-looking people?
No, they don't exist.
Yeah.
They're only AI. They're AI generated. You
know what's funny is that people were spoofing on that Soft White Underbelly, the open couple where the chick like dominates that guy, like the fat girl. You know what's funny is I was the first one to post that on Twitter, the screen cap. Yeah, so I was the one that memed that into I believe Mark Lilla had to like turn the comments off for that one. Because it was objectively cruel what this chick was doing to this guy. Like, just I can't go into it. Like, if I describe it, this video will never get monetized. But anyways, another $4.99 by Luthen Plier, Cringewalker. The hacker known as Turnipseed will erase all our draft card records. I'm not worried. Thank God. Thank God. Another common W for Ryan Turnipseed. So.
Oh, and his thread was mentioned on the YouTube channel Conversations That Matter. They had a Lutheran pastor on to also discuss it, but it was his critiques were viewed rather favorably, and I thought it was very important for. Excuse me. I think it's important for us to recognize that Ryan Turnipseed posts under his real name and face. He's, a young man, goes to college, and genuinely gives a shit about his church and as a layman what he can do about it. And what do? They dehumanize him. They don't ever address, and it's the same thing that we've seen every time, but it's one of our guys that is experiencing it.
Yeah.
Real guy, face and name. That's his real name, by the way. People think it's a pseudonym, but it's not.
No, it's his real name.
It's his real name. It's as American as ever. That is his Christian name given to
Turnipseed, Germano-American right there.
He is. And,
that's pure Saxon American.
and so to deny him his name, to deny him his humanity, makes it easier to dismiss, dehumanize, and target him for harassment. And that's what we're dealing with. So it doesn't matter. And this is the one instance where I'll be rather ecumenical and say, like, I'm going to support Ryan and all of his efforts here to get rid of this church of woke bullshit.
Yeah, I got to have him on the show one day. He'll probably come on. I'm trying to think of something original to talk about with him though, like something that he isn't like that you want, like, you know what I mean? Like that's like my goal with Content Minded, but yeah. But I'm wondering though. I mean, I guess if we like sat down and talked, we could probably we'll see. I'm probably be a different one than the usual like takes. You know what I mean? But anyways, finally for. I think we keep going. People will keep giving me $5 buckers, So I know. I remember Ghost when he used to do live streams before he before he destroyed his audience. He used to call them $8.66 buckers or something like that, and they would play a voice. Yeah, they would play a voice clip. And it was always like the same one. It was like, I buy that for $1. We should have like that. Listen, I'm too tech illiterate to have the whole Stream Elements thing where they play a sound. I don't know.
I have the computing power now because I've moved things around, and so I have my desktop now where I stream from. I'm tempted to finally give up the Ghost and learn how to play with OBS for this sort of garbage.
Yeah, I know Patrick Casey's got it down pat. Speaking of which, it's funny. He did one with Closington and Charlemagne on Nick Land, but
yeah, it was a great episode.
Yeah, I wanted to do an episode specifically for Content Minded with Closington, but just on Thirst for Annihilation, because I feel like that's an often neglected Nick Land book. Even though that's when Nick Land was an edgy fedora tipper. But anyways, Spasticus Autisticus, our good friend, for $5. A very fat friend of mine, when asked what time do you dine, responded, let's see, 7, 8, 8, 10, and 3, 5, and 6, and quarter post 9, past 9. Is that supposed to be the Big Smoke order from GTA? What is that from? Let's see, 7, 8, 10, and 3, 5, 6, and quarter past 9. Is that supposed to be from something Spasticus Autisticus?
I don't know.
He used to be a libertarian. Yeah, he used to be a libertarian. Moving away from the NEP. Oh yeah, we could play frog noises. That's could be the text to speech.
Oh Lord.
Oh my God.
I actually have a guy who had done a few clips where he animated frogs talking and nice. Very, very threatening voices telling you to subscribe or else. I should find them and post them on Twitter.
That's incredible. $5 from Glow in the Dark. Thank you once again, my good friend. Give him the chair, Gio. Prude goes down. Gio body slam. Oh, that has to hurt.
Oh, come on, dude. You have to do this in an announcer voice.
I'm trying to think. Could I do it would you rather me do Kevin Kelly or JR? Let me just do Give him the chair, Gio. Prue goes down. Gio body slam. Oh, that has to hurt. What's this? Prue reverse the pin. By God. Prue gets him in the headlock. You know, stop the damn match. You know, that could be. Yeah, I did the JR. There you go. Stop the damn match. Because the Kevin Kelly one's a very specific one, but I could do like you know what I could do? I could probably do Eric Archipelago from like early CZW. Those are okay. Listen, that's a Geo deep lore. My favorite announce team is John House and Eric Archipelago from early CZW, classic CZW. Because I love how like John House did the heel, like he was the heel announcer, and like. He would go like, "Oh, bam! Someone call 911." He's like, "I think they're already here, John." My favorite was the first tournament of death was it was Nick Mondo versus Homeless Jimmy, and the best is when he gave him the assault driver off the rider truck, and he goes, "I don't think we need to call it 911. I think we need to call Bellevue." That was a joke. We got him from Bellevue, the insane asylum. So I don't know, that was pretty funny to me back in the day, early CZW. But anyways, this has been a great stream, man. It's pretty good.
2 articles, tweets, AI prawn, e-girls, JJ the Jackoff plane. What more could you ask for on an episode of the Digital Archipelago?
It's been amazing. Next week we're gonna have some other incredible content for you. And like I said, next week I'm gonna release the Versaloon episode on Content Minded. So stay tuned. And what do you have for this Saturday?
This Saturday, we are reviewing the 2004 text Fatal Future, Transnational Terrorism and the New Global Disorder by Richard M. Perlstein. I thought with this book being almost 20 years old, that we'd look back on the predictions about terrorism in the post 9/11 age and see how well they've aged. And if there's any nuggets of truth. And there is. It's actually a short, really easy read. And it was a lot of fun to take notes on this because some things aged really, really well and others not so much.
Not so good, yeah.
Because we often, like, it's just funny how terrorism has just died in all international relations discourse outside of a few niche areas.
Well, they call Russia a terrorist state.
Well, that's for sanctions purposes. It's not
exactly. Yeah.
It's not like they're people that you would steal away into Abu Ghraib or anything. It's not. Yeah, this is like a pure post 9/11 text, post Iraq war text that I picked it up on a whim and I was like, oh, this looks good. And turns out there's quite a bit of stuff to discuss. So we'll be talking about that this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern over on my channel.
And this Sunday, I'll probably come out with the third installment of Necropolitics for Genre Reviews. So the public version is always free. And of course, the paywalled version will be on Substack and Patreon. And you have a new writing series that you mentioned. What's the whole series about?
This is just a series of ruminations and thoughts that helps me keep on writing. So these are every week. And this one is about the nature of curses and self-fulfilling prophecies. And then the other one will probably be more behind the paywall stuff. I haven't decided yet, but so far the feedback's been very good. And then there's also a new Real Talk out that came out on Wednesday, talking about class, castes, and rootless cosmopolitans and how it doesn't matter where you were born, you can't ever escape from it. And what does it mean to have, quote unquote, your people and a hometown?
Nice. I write my reflections on Substack. On Telegram, the smaller ones, and I'm gonna have to collect them and maybe put them up every month or so, or a few months on Substack. So I also have a paywall article I wanted to release, but I have to review it, go over it again because I wrote it like last year. So for finally 2 hours, Spasticus Autisticus, Chuck's Feed and Seed. I don't get it. Last night on Jay Burden's stream, he sent in a super chat where he explained the joke of Seed and Feed. So yeah, that's pretty funny. Prude on Benjamin Boyce was good.
Oh yeah, that also came out earlier this week. Is my conversation with Benjamin Boyce is available on his channel. I was very pleased he let me rant as long as I did on some things, and he's a good interviewer. He asks tough questions to make me think, which I appreciated. So if you haven't gone over there, I think the title of it's called Visionary Conservatism, which I won't dock him too hard for calling me a conservative. But yeah, it was a very good talk. It was a good time.
And also, I went on These People Are Sick. That came out this week. And I have to update my, on my link tree, I have a Substack article that links to all of my podcast and interview appearances. So I have to update that, but I will I will link it again. Also, I believe my Incel podcast episode may have come out, but I have to shill for that. So I will, let me check really quickly.
I was also the previous episode for These People Are Sick, so you can get more of us back to back over on their podcast.
Nice. Let me check really quickly, just see if it came out. No, it didn't come out, but when it does come out, I will link that, of course. I'll shill for it. So there you go. And of course, Nominates will come on Content Minded soon as well. We just have to find a time. We have a bunch of stuff that we didn't get to talk about because it was like going on 2 hours. And so, yeah. All right, man. Thank you. Unless you have any last minute. Yeah, the Incel podcast. Yeah, exactly. With Nominates. So thank you all once again. Next week's on Prude's channel. And we have a bunch of great content coming for you next week and this weekend. So as always, everyone, thank you. God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.
See you, gents.